all the panelists are well seated together and well balanced, gender balanced. If you have lived in Lagos over the last 10, 15, 20 years, you will understand that the man that I'm about to introduce is a man who wears many caps. He is known as the action governor of Lagos State. I'm trying to avoid the political hot waters, as it were. But if there is anything that has worked for Lagos, is the fact that there is continuity in infrastructure, in works, in investments and development. I'm one of those who have put hands together to ensure that we achieve this in Lagos. Is none other than a former governor of Lagos State, a former minister of power and works. Please put your hands together for Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, S-A-N-C-O-N. A round of applause. Please stand up for recognition. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Don't allow me to bore you with the little I know about him. Not much, but just a little. And I'm saying this for the benefit of the young ones in our midst. Please permit me for just about 30 seconds. I handled an event at the Sheraton Hotel when he was still a governor. And I had the privilege of walking out to the car when they brought his vehicle. And we were chatting to a few, and and he opened the door, and I was still chatting with him. And so he went in and sat, and of course he was sitting behind the driver. And for the first time, I had a glimpse of the inside of his vehicle. Sorry, I'm a journalist, so I'm... But what did I find? The entire back of the seats were filled with books, like a Harvard library. Please give me a round of applause. I mean, his vehicle was a library, a moving library, which means that whenever this driver is taking him anywhere within Lagos, he's reading something. The entire back was blocked with books. You can't even see it. Well, I wasn't surprised when he became the minister that I went to his office and I had the privilege of interviewing him at least twice or thrice while he was a minister. And it was exactly the same. And when he was the minister of power, he had on his table a whole heap of videotapes. And what were in those videotapes? He said he collected those videotapes as he moved from one country to the other, looking for best practices on how to provide electricity and power for Nigeria. What is an infrastructure? So if there is any man who is an epitome of learning, despite his position, that is one man. Give me another round of applause, please. Please. Well, today, Raji Fashola. As for those of us, there's never a day to stop learning. Keep learning. Let me recognize our sponsors as well. Thank you very much, and I'm sure we can see their names. Some of them are exhibited outside, platinum sponsors and others. Thank you very much for supporting this initiative of Wemabod Limited. Please permit me now to yield the floor for a welcome address by the Managing Director of Wemabod Limited, who will give us a proper welcome address. And by the way, I saw the address this morning around Osborne, just off the road. And I love what I saw. They painted in white. And I was tempted to just stop over and say, can I have a new address? It hasn't really been occupied as such. I'm not sure you have so many tenants yet. So in case you get there and they said Bosin called and left his address, please, that was me. I'll need someone at the top floor. Thank you. Please bring him to the table, to the podium, the Managing Director of Wemabod Limited, Mr. Bashir Oladuni, ESV. Please, a round of applause. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you.
Your Excellency, the former Governor of Lagos State, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, the Group Chairman of Odua Investment Company Limited, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, my able Group Managing Director, Odua Investment Company Limited, Abdurrahman, Engineer Nureni Adis Limited, Lagos State, His Excellency, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, with us, whose presence add great value to this event. At the time we were considering who to be the keynote speaker, I had a session with the board of directors for us to decide whether we want to continue to make this occasion a jamboree, or we want to continue to have it as an intellectual discourse. And at that point, we thought of balancing the equation and looking for a figure that represents both. And we settled for Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola. Your Excellency, sir, we are very grateful to you for honoring our invitation. The Real Estate Outlook by Wemabod Limited started 3 years ago, with this edition being the third of its kind. And the primary aim and objective of us starting this Real Estate Outlook is to create a self-sustaining platform meant to advance the cause of humanity through real estate by collaborating with professional colleagues and churning our value-adding ideas and solutions to the real estate sector through exchange of innovative ideas. And I'm happy to inform us that we have recorded success. The first edition, we had only 150 participants. And at the last edition, held 2024, we had about 400 participants. Today, we have over 2,000 participants, both physical and online. And I think, looking at this geometric growth in the number of participants that we've had year on year, we can comfortably say that it has been a success, and we are determined to continue to sustain it into the future. This year's edition is themed Real Estate Development, a catalyst for Nigeria's economic recovery. And the reason is not far-fetched. According to Wednesday report, online report of January 10, 2025, the real estate sector in Nigeria contributed only 5.43% to the country's real GDP in the third quarter of 2024. And this was lower in 2023. The import of this is that within this period, there must have been job loss, and a lot of people would have gone into penury. However, this same report, this same article, also made it known that going by the rebasing of the Nigerian economy, real estate sector has overtaken the oil and gas in the contribution to GDP, and is now the second biggest sector in the Nigerian economy. From the foregoing, I believe the sector stands as one of the most significant pillars of development and economic stability, and we are here today to discuss how we can harness its full potential for sustainable growth. The Nigerian real estate sector much like the broader economy, faces mirage of difficulties from macroeconomic instability and high inflation rates to foreign exchange volatility. These factors made investment and development more difficult than ever. However, these challenges present equally significant opportunities. The key to overcoming these obstacles lie in our ability to innovate, collaborate, invest strategically in real estate as a vital tool for driving national economy. Ladies and gentlemen, at Wemabod, we remain committed to transforming Nigeria's real estate landscape, not just by constructing buildings, but by creating thriving communities and contributing to the country's economic recovery. The first two editions of this great gathering have been very impactful in reshaping thoughts of sector leaders on how to navigate economic volatility and complexities that affect real estate sector. At the last event, we were able to demonstrate how we can de-risk our investment, how we can mitigate factors that affect our investment in terms of volatility. With a record estimated attendance of total 2,000, like I said earlier, we are happy and comfortable that this event will continue to hold and contribute to the growth of the housing sector. Today, we are honored to welcome our keynote speaker, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, a respected leader and a visionary in the field of infrastructure and real estate development, whose insights into the role of real estate sector in driving economic recovery will undoubtedly inspire and guide us as we move forward. Ladies and gentlemen, we also have with us highly respected and professional panelists that has earlier been introduced. We have with us the president of one of the noblest professions in Nigeria and in the world, Mr. Victor Alunge, the president of the Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors and Valuers. We also have my sister, Mrs. Kemi Olomola Shijuade, a successful private practitioner, and architect Irejua Badebo, a renowned architect in Nigerian real estate sector. And of course, where we are here is to collaborate on advocacy, because we understand that real estate attract huge capital. Most of this capital cannot be carried out by individuals. So we require the intervention of the government. And that was why we have with us the president of the Housing Development Advocacy Group, whose advocacy for affordable housing has positively impacted the industry. Help me to welcome Mr. Festus Adebayo, a renowned advocate for good housing and housing delivery in Nigeria. Together, these experts bring invaluable knowledge that will enable us to understand the intricacies of the current market and uncover actionable solutions to the future growth. As we engage in today's deliberations, ladies and gentlemen, I encourage all of us to approach this discussion in an open mind and shared commitment to advancing real estate sector in Nigeria. The collective wisdom present in this hall will be instrumental in identifying the opportunities that lie ahead and determining the strategies we need to implement in order to capitalize on them. In conclusion, and before I close my welcome address, I want to specially recognize my immediate past MD, the former MD of Wemabod Limited, my big brother, Mr. Oluyemi Ejidiran, and also recognize the immediate past chairman of Wemabod Limited, ESV Ibukun Efuntayo. It was during their tenure as the MD and chairman that this initiative to have this kind of platform where stakeholders can come together to share ideas and provide solutions to the housing sector was muted and institutionalized. I thank you very much for initiating such a beautiful idea. Once again, on behalf of Wemabod Limited and Udua Investment Company Limited, I welcome you all to the 2025 Wemabod Real Estate Outlook as I look forward to an engaging and insightful session. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
Applause going. Thank you very much, the Managing Director, for whetting our appetite for what is to come. Give us some data. Within 5% of GDP, China is doing 25% real estate of size of the GDP. And those folks are always building like the pharaohs. But real estate is technically everything. And I'm sure our keynote speaker and our special guest, the former governor of Lagos State, Raji Fashola, SCN, will delve more into that. Let me introduce our chairman, Engineer Adesanureni, who will be speaking next. He is someone who is also well-heeled in the industry of real estate, a one-time commissioner for special duties for your state, and also the chairman of Ibadan Local Government Property Limited. He served as a member of the Federal House of Representatives, where he was the chairman of the House Committee of Police Affairs, and is also presently the managing director of Dove Farms Limited. Please put your hands together for Engineer Adesanureni, who comes in here for our welcome address. Thank you very much, sir. Please, you have the floor. A round of applause, please. The chairman is smiling because from doing real estate, he's now putting food on the table in the house.
Your Excellency, Babatunde Raji Fashola, my group chairman, the group GMD, members of Udua Board, my colleagues at Wemabod, my MD and management staff of Wemabod, chairmen and directors of subsidiaries here present, the immediate past MD CEO of Wemabod, our distinguished panelists, members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I am delighted to welcome you all to this year's Wemabod Real Estate Outlook, themed Real Estate Development, a catalyst for Nigeria's economic recovery, where we all, as key stakeholders in Nigeria and the real estate sector, can share insights, identify synergies, and agree on strategies through which the sector can contribute more to accelerated economic recovery for Nigeria. The real estate and construction sector are among the top sectors in terms of employment in Nigeria, where agriculture, trade are the topmost based on online findings. According to the latest data released by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics recently, the sector contributed a total of 11.2 trillion in the first quarter of 2024, compared to 9.1 trillion generated in the fourth quarter of 2023. That's according to Punch Online. Also, according to data released by the National Bureau of Statistics, the Nigerian real estate sector contributed to the national GDP stands at about 6.87% in 2023. Ladies and gentlemen, contrasting the same real estate sector contributes about 15% to the national economy in Indonesia, a developing and emerging economy. That the latent capacity for the sector to be a catalyst for the nation's economic recovery remains largely dominant. We reviewed together method and strategies for navigating volatilities and uncertainties in the 2024 edition of this event, which has had significant impact on reshaping strategies employed by participating sector stakeholders. Therefore, the theme for this year's Real Estate Outlook, which is the third edition, is our own little way of drawing conscious attention to this industry's potential with a view to unlock them. This outlook is really about sensitizing our fellow stakeholders and government as we prepare for the opportunities and threats that lie ahead while reviewing industry trends. To thrive and make the kind of impact we crave, we must embrace and utilize the changing realities of the nation today and build a future that aligns with our economic targets and political vision. I am confident that with the collective wisdom and collaboration of all the industry experts and visionary leaders present here today, we can proceed to shape the future of Nigeria real estate industry and grow it in a manner that is innovative, exceptionally impactful, sustainable as we accelerate the economic recovery of our beloved country. I look forward to the conversations, ideas, and strategies that will unfold over the course of this event. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. Let's make speed for time and bring on the podium the Group Managing Director of Odua Investment Limited, Mr. Abdurrahman Yunusa. Please take a round of applause, sir, for your very quick remarks as part of this real estate outlook. Please keep it coming. Thank you very much. You have the floor. Thank you very much.
Morning, ladies and gentlemen. In the spirit of time, we are going to rely extensively on the protocols already established by Bosun very professionally. But having said that, it's not possible for me to start without first acknowledging just 2 or 3 names on my list. Of course, His Excellency's name comes first, Mr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, both Governor Lagos State as well as former Minister, I think they said housing, and I think it's a couple of ministries, all like 3. You have power, you have housing, you have road, all put together. So it's more like the Minister for Infrastructure. A round of applause for him, please. I also want to pay my respects to the group chairman of Odua Investment Company, in no person other than our Otumba Bimbo Ashiru. Morning, sir. And of course, our host here today, that's ESV Bashir Oladuni, the MD of Wemabod. Some may not know, naturally, when a holding company steps forward, you will expect that the holding company is older than the subsidiary that we're talking about. Sorry, guys. In this particular instance, Wemabod is actually older than Odua Investment Company Limited. And we are proud to see that our subsidiary is doing so well. It is a pleasure to be at this event, and the key subject of delivering real estate development to the economy cannot be underestimated. I would like to play a little role here of a storyteller, because living in Lagos a couple of years or maybe decades ago, as an ordinary Lagos resident, I used to work then in Marina, and I live on the mainland. So all of us here can already remember the story of crossing the bridges. Anytime you get, as you're coming down Marina, around Muson, and you want to link back to the express, the outer Marina, there's always a problem because there is no link between that road and the express. And then we remember the police people, some of them used to actually stay around there and wait for us. Anytime you try to cross, they actually stop you there, and then that becomes a problem. To the glory of God and the vision of Mr. Babatunde Fashola, he did a magic. What today you see as you are coming down the bridge from Marina, the upper Marina, and you go down Muson Center, and you can turn, and you have a choice. You can either go back to Third Mainland, or you can turn and connect with the one going to VI. That initiative is remarkable. Mr. Fashola, it must have been our prayers that got you into the minister position later. Because we are also happy that without breaking the law, you can actually come down Muson Center and connect either to the Third Mainland back or continue to VI under that bridge, which is a place that is of no use to anybody before, where it was a problem for the residents. So that's one story. So thank you very much, sir, for that initiative. Number two, I then moved to the Lekki axis. I'm coming to work again in the same arena. There's a bottleneck somewhere beyond the toll gate around law school. If you want to go to mainland, you have to first enter inside law school and then turn and connect Akinadeshola back up there. That used to be a nightmare. In fact, when you close at work at 5 p.m., I used to work on Idowu Taylor. You don't want to go home because that whole place is completely jam-packed. To the glory of God and special effort by our governor, former governor sitting here, he made a link road that as we are coming, once you pass Civic Center, there is a turning that you can just climb and you are at Falomo. That simple connection makes a whole difference to anybody that has ever used that road before. Now, that is the story we would like to tell. When leaders have the objective of the society at heart, it's very easy. And I make bold to say that those two projects, as large as their benefit were to the people, I can tell that they must have cost, the governor and the budget a very, very tiny figure in terms of what they do. So you can talk about impact governance. That is Fashola for you. Thank you very much, sir. So having said that, we see real estate as a major catalyst for economic development. Because at the end of the day, one of the three variables in the Maslow's theory of hierarchy of human needs is shelter. It's actually food, shelter, and clothing. I'm not sure about the order anymore. Maybe it is food, clothing, and shelter. Okay? But clearly, at the very, very base of the hierarchy of human needs is shelter. Therefore, we need to ensure that we actually have enough homes over our heads across board. And that is a major thing. So it's on this note that I will remember that in Odua Investment Company, and by extension, Wemabod, we have always believed that investment in real estate, it's a key factor that we need to focus on. And that has always been the case in Odua. Now, what are the key drivers of the list? Will be infrastructure. Number 2 on the list, if you want to ask me, is still infrastructure. And if you still want a number 3, I will still tell you that number 3 is still infrastructure. Now, if anybody is in doubt, I will remind you to look at the Lekki-Ekpe Express Road. God bless much former governor. That's more, is more former than our Alhaji Fashola here. We're talking about Alhaji Jakonde. Just that singular road that opens VI to Ekpe, that singular act, that singular road, if you fast forward when it was done to maybe 30 years after, I'm sure even Alhaji Jakonde of blessed memory would not have imagined that kind of development. So please, a round of applause for him in arrears. That infrastructure is so central to development, which is why for those who are in the business of real estate, they will tell you the first thing you do is site and services. Once you do that, leave people, they will grant whatever matches their concern. But there has to be site and services, which is road, water, electricity. Once those 3 are there, you can always take it for granted that people will gravitate into that area. Another point of concern is affordability. Remember, I said housing or shelter, hierarchy of human needs. And for those who can remember, that hierarchy of human need, there are 5 of them. 5. So if at the base is shelter, it means almost everybody, irrespective of status, will need a house. So affordability is a problem. And I'm sure by the time the panel come forward, they will give us very beautiful ideas on how to achieve that. Then technology. Gone were the days when everything is brick and mortar. Now, the idea is to be able to have smart cities because resources are limited, and therefore we have to find a way to make sure that we use renewable resources. Energy is the most obvious. Our rooftops, one of the biggest challenges in a country like Nigeria, being in the tropics, is heat, too much heat. And that, again, it's actually energy that we are just wasting away. So I believe panel discussants will give us ideas on how to harness technology to make our real estate development cheaper and sustainable. So for me, as a call to action, this gathering, like the MD of Wemabod said, is not a talk shop, it's not a jamboree. It's more of contribution to knowledge, contribution to possible ideas that can form or go into policy formulation that can make things better for the country as a whole, not only for the Southwest or for Lagos. And reason being that the more you develop Lagos, or if I expand it to our Southwest, the more we develop the Southwest, unfortunately, the more the risk of being overrun by more people from elsewhere. So maybe when we finish this, we will actually put together the ideas and share it for our brothers across the Niger to the east and also up north, so that they can also do the same. Because they say in Yoruba language, "Ìrọ̀rùn ẹyẹ, òun náà ni ìrọ̀rùn igi," meaning that if you want peace for yourself, you have to make sure that your neighbors also have peace. Otherwise, they'll just keep gravitating to your end. So in conclusion, I would say Odua Investment is a partner that you can always rely on when it comes to real estate development, or for that matter, when it comes to development in the Southwest and for the country at large. So once again, I thank our able former governor, His Excellency, for accepting to give the keynote address in this. And just as he had done by solving our problem in Lagos in the wonderful and creative way out of the box, I am sure issues that will come up from his presence give us a lot of food for thought. So I thank you very much.
A round of applause, please, for the Group Managing Director. Thank you very much, sir, for those wonderful thoughts. We'll keep speed to time. And our next speaker, the Group Chairman of Odua Investments, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, has been a close segment for quite a long time. And he shared his presentation with me earlier today, and he's going to make a very big announcement. And that announcement is to give us an idea of when Odua Investment Limited will be listed on the stock market. Please give him a round of applause. If he didn't make the announcement, I will make it.
Bosin, you want to put cocaine in my pocket? Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my dear brother, I told him that he had a doctorate degree, he refused to use it, but today I'm going to install that doctorate degree on him. Dr. Babatunde Raji Fasola, son, CON, former governor of Lagos State, and former minister of so many. We call him Omoloye Meta. So I want to thank you very much for today, because I remember when the MD of Wemabod called me and said they've sent a letter, they're trying to reach him, and he said, do I know him? I said, don't worry, he's my brother. On that 8th of December, I booked a call to him, and I said, we are having something in February. And he said, oh, I should be out of the country. But don't worry, let's see what happens. And the next day, he called me and said, Bimbo, don't worry, I will attend and I will be part of that program. I want to thank you for that honor. My colleagues on the board of Odua, I have some of my colleagues here, members of the board, directors of Wemabod, good morning, and the panelists. I want to commend the members of the board of Wemabod for this initiative. I remember 3 years ago, it started, and I want to actually, the MD and the former chairman for a job well done. It started in, with Bakerly said, by 150 people. And we sat down there, I think I made some presentation. Then last year, unfortunately, I couldn't make it. I was somewhere, but I presented a video, which I put my goodwill message. And it was about 400 at Muson. Today, we are having almost over 1,000 people in this hall. So it keeps telling me that there is something they call sustainability. We must be able to sustain something, and it's growth. And I pray that Wemabod will continue to grow from strength to strength, because what you've done clearly shows that you know what you are doing. And I want to commend the management and the board of Wemabod for this. The most important decision we took in Odua, members of the board, they are here today, was the fact that we decided to hand over all our real estate business to Wemabod. And since then, in the last, I think it was August 2022, Since then, we have no reason to regret because we found out that how can father and son, although they were saying that Wemabod is older than Odua, but it is possible that they became our son anyway. So how can we be competing in the real estate market? It doesn't make any economic sense. And we took that bold decision. It was tough, but we took that bold decision. And today, we have no reason to regret that the decision is a good decision. And I want to commend my colleagues on the board of Odua, because don't forget that on the board of Odua, we are all interested parties. It's owned by the fourth largest economy in Africa, the 6 southwest states, the most progressive state in Nigeria. I mean, the South, I'm sorry to say that, you know Southwest, you know what it means. Like somebody said, that Odua is the only existing investment company of the regional government that is still surviving. But I think the other states are now trying to do that now. So I welcome you all for today's event. We at Odua Investment Company Limited are committed to the development of Nigeria real estate industry as a group. We believe real estate industry is an important part of the economy and business and the lives of the millions of Nigerians who own property or have dreams of doing so. Like Boston said, he wants to take the property in address. Don't worry, it's address Wemabod property. We are committed to the development of the real estate industry, and this commitment is inherited from the predecessors of both Odua Investment Company Limited and Wemabod Limited. The work done by our founding fathers, may God bless their souls, the likes of Papa Awolowo and Chief Akintola, they did a fantastic job, and that is I think they deserve a round of applause wherever they are now. As a result of that, the investment we are custodians of include industrial zones, which you see around Ikeja, Ibadan, everywhere. We have the warehouses, high-rise buildings, central businesses, districts in Lagos, and I'm happy to tell you that before the end of the year, Premier Hotel we are going to commission the new Premier Hotel, increasing the parameters. We are doing something. We are trying to bring back the legacy of these old people, because when they consummate these things, they plan so many, they have so many things. It was like a one-stop shop. But due to some things in the past, but we are now correcting the wrongs, and we are making Odua proud. And by God's grace, we will succeed during this time. As part of our strategy to drive growth in the real estate industry, we consolidated the management of all our real estate assets and businesses within Wemabod, which I just mentioned. The consolidated approach has yielded signal results, as both Wemabod and the group are doing very things, and our vision is there to see. We therefore are very familiar with some of the challenges which we know that the real estate development and management are facing. Some of the challenges which is resolved can significantly help our business and those other real estate industries in that area. An ideal situation is the mind will be that Nigeria, where many individual players, groups deliver thousands of homes, commercial property assets annually. This will require a lot of work by governments and their agencies. And I'm happy that Governor Fashola is here to discuss all these things and the good faculty we are having here to talk about that. We believe that government has a finger role to play in providing an enabling environment for business to thrive. And like I always tell people, government has no business in doing business, but government should provide that enabling environment for business to thrive. And I'm happy people are seeing that to bring in businesses into the country. As an entity owned by government, we will continue to advocate for more development of the enabling environment for the real estate industry, especially in a way that works. Nigerians at all levels of economic ladder. As we discuss today, I believe we will identify some of the actionable ideas that can help us improve access to real estate and catalyze the real estate industry to its rightful place as an engine of growth for the economic development of Nigeria. As I end, I wish you a successful celebration, and I pray that by this time next year, we will have, probably we won't have it here, we'll have it somewhere bigger than this. But I can tell you, we all have contribution to make the success in this country. I thank you and God bless.
Please, let's keep the applause going for our group chairman, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru. Thank you very much for those kind words and giving us some further insight into what is being done at the Odua Investment Limited. Let me quickly do a few recognitions. Please, let's say a very big thank you for coming, Mrs. Temitope Akibola, who is the Director, Monitoring and Compliance, Lagos State Real Estate Regulatory Authority. Mrs. Akimbola, are you here, madam? Thank you very much. We appreciate your time and presence. Barrister Barakat Odunuga Bakari, a special advisor to the Lagos State Governor, His Excellency Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu on housing. Madam, are you in the hall as well? Doctor, thank you very much. Barrister? Thank you very much. And also, Dr. Adekunle Olanyinka, FNSE, Special Advisor to the Lagos State Governor in charge of Works at the Ministry of Works and Infrastructure. Thank you very much, Doctor. Thank you very much. We appreciate your coming. The gentleman who is speaking to us next has been variously recognized, but I will recognize him with a very simple statement. He's a man whose the lace of his shoes I cannot untie. Put your hands together for Dr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, CON, a former governor of Lagos State. A round of applause, please. A standing ovation for him as he comes to the podium. And a former cabinet minister in charge of power, works and housing. The man popularly known as the Action Governor. He hasn't gained weight, he hasn't lost weight. That's the way to maintain a real estate. He is what a real estate should look like. Ebo, it's good to see you again. Thank you so much for coming. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Good morning and Happy New Year. And so, I think after all of the detailed protocols, the master of ceremony just refused to recognize somebody, and that is himself, Mr. Bosin Omofaye himself, very, very knowledgeable commentator on business and economy in Nigeria. So I'll start from there and thank my brother, Otumba Bimbo Ashiru, for inviting me to this event. I am delighted that I accepted the invitation. The only thing that I missed out, which I think is now too late, is to have asked that this appearance be paid for. So that I didn't know when he started telling me how big the group had become. So way back, I remember them as a very struggling enterprise. And Bimbo has brought his business experience, leadership capacity with a very, very brilliant team to build back again, as it were. So I didn't know that they had become quite prosperous. And so when you are declaring your next dividends, I think before you do so, you still have some outstanding for this appearance. But really and truly, it's a pleasure to be here to see a lot of old faces, familiar faces, industry experts. And I wonder, after listening to all of the brilliant remarks that have been said before I came on stage, whether there is really anything new to add. What can I usefully add to such well thought out interventions and a lot of experience by people who are really experts, architects, estate surveyors, builders in the industry? What can I really say that is going to be new? I am not sure. So if I don't say anything new, it's because we have said everything in the past. So we just need to go and do more of what we have said. And if you feel disappointed, just hold Bimbo. He asked me to come. But I think a good place to start this conversation is where the group managing director of the Odua group perhaps left it. And some of the other commentators, it's how does this affect the well-being of everybody? So, and I think there was a reference by one of the speakers to the Bureau of Statistics report. The most recent one, I think, showed a growth rate of 3.46% thereabouts. So let's start from there. And if we use that as a measure of diagnosing our economic well-being, we will see that growth is a useful index. I think we all agree. It's a different thing if it's not growing at all. So there's growth. It's a useful index. But it doesn't solve all of the problems because a patient, if we use the analogy of a human being, can look well but still have some underlying conditions. Is that not possible? So there is growth, but there are underlying conditions. Inflation is an underlying condition. I think we all agree. And a few other things. Unemployment is one. So if we use that analogy, but let us not lose the important thing. Patient is alive. Patient is looking well, but has headache, occasional high temperature. Because if we isolate growth, and I will attempt to show the importance of growth, if we isolate growth and look at the OECD countries, that's the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They have 38 members spanning a few continents. If we look at them, and you can check this up, out of 38 of them, only 4 have GDP performances of over 3%. So we were reporting 3.46. Only 4 out of 38 have GDP performances of over 3%. The majority are growing at over 1% but under 2%. While 20 out of 38 are growing at under 1%. Now, OECD countries are classified as developed countries with high income economies and very high human developmental indices. And they are growing largely at under 1%. So if we make that comparison, is 3.4% better than 1%? I think we can agree. So growth is good. But what has happened to those countries, in spite of their development, they are challenged by what challenges everybody. They are challenged by inflation. They are challenged by unemployment, just like us. And if you are still wondering where all of this is going, the point I'm seeking to make is that if the economy is growing at over 3%, we shouldn't be talking about using real estate development for economic recovery. We should be talking about using real estate development to accelerate and expand that growth. It's already growing. It would have been a different thing if the economy was in recession. Then we could have been talking about recovery. But I don't mean this as any disrespect to my hosts. It's just perhaps to put a sharper lens on the conversation I think we should be having. So I have taken the liberty to slightly modify and speak about real estate development as a catalyst for economic growth rather than for economic recovery. I think by that applause, I take it that you accept my shift of thesis. So if you do, I want to urge then that in our economic environment, what we should be doing is not finger pointing, it's not blaming this or blaming that. It's really about saying that, look, if this thing is growing at 3 point something percent, which parts of it are growing well? Which are the parts that are not so doing well? And then let us concentrate our energies on finding how we can drive growth in those other areas. And I think this is a progressive attitude. Let us look at what needs to be done and let's get on with it. And I think this is why this meeting, this convocation here is a commendable one. What can we do more in real estate to develop and accelerate growth? So this is a progressive meeting. So if we do a quick drill down of the sectors in GDP that, and I think somebody has availed me the head start there. That's why I said you might not hear many new things. You will see that services sector are the leaders in performance. Now, I tell people this because I remember when the economy went into a predicted recession, some of my closest friends who were operating in the service sector didn't like me. Because the truth is that once an economy hits recession, services sector is the first to suffer. And when recovery is complete, it is the last to recover. And when things are good, that is where the jollification is. So service sector doing well. Oil sector not bad, inching up. Industry, agric is where we need to up the game. Manufacturing and real estate in some subsectors of it. I have left out the details because of time. But just to make the point that the areas where there are slowdowns are the areas of activity. That's where we must go. So, and I think enough has already been said about Dirty December and its 1 or 2 month impact on the tourism sector. That's another sector that needs to really open up. So we are bigger than just being an economy of telecom, oil and gas, banking, and fintech. There's so many areas that have not started playing at all, or that are not playing enough. And so tourism is one of them. And another sector of tourism, which is part of what we're doing here, meetings. There's an acronym known as MICE, and I couldn't talk enough about it. It's an acronym for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions. This is what some other countries just live on. So, as Otumba Ashiru is talking about a new premier hotel and all of the facilities, why can't Ibadan be the new area for meetings, incentives, conferences, and exhibitions? Why can't Rivers be? Why can't Enugu be? Just as Lagos has been. Why must we always all travel? Why can't people come and visit us? All those conferences, let us go and bid to start hosting them. Those are jobs. Enough said. So I think again that we're seeing efforts by the current administration to open up another subsector of petroleum where we haven't played. We've played largely in oil. Now gas is opening up. Again, growth, expansion, jobs, opportunities. What I see are early shoots of further economic growth, and real estate again offers another window. So I've talked about some sectors, so I'm coming back to why we are here. What should Wemabod then do? I think that's a question at the heart of this conversation. What new thing can Wemabod do? I think the answer lies in what Wemabod has already done in over 6 decades of her existence, from when I believe she was first known as Nabani Estates, before the change of name and the change of ownership. It is true that Wemabod has a mixed portfolio of properties from residential to commercial. But for my generation and for housing and related professions, the reputation of Wemabod that still endures is that of a commercial property developer. That's what I remember Wemabod for, a commercial property developer. Unity House and Western House are some of the properties where my generation undertook chambers attachment when we were in the law school. Once they gave us the forms to go and find the chambers, we all just ran from floor to floor, knocking on lawyers' doors, and we were welcome. And it was a place we went back to after law school and NYSC for jobs. There was always at least 1 or 2 lawyers on each floor. So, some of today's biggest law firms and some of today's biggest business brands started as startups in Western House and in Unity House a little over 1 generation ago. So it is simply impossible now to even comprehend the number of offices and businesses in just those 2 buildings alone, and the number of deals, international transactions that were struck in that concrete portal, those 2 buildings. Trademarks, and so many things were going on in just 2 buildings. I'm not sure that even the builders and the developers foresaw what was going to happen when they committed to those developments. But they were really massive buildings. And when you look back at things that have transpired, even some of the cases I got involved in then as a much younger lawyer, you then find, okay, it was that office in Western House where this case came on and they were talking about millions of dollars. But the message is simple. Because Wemabod invested, businesses expanded and thrived. But that is on a larger scale. Decent and life-supporting income from doing so. And also, some of my biggest fee-paying clients were operating in Wemabod properties, especially in the Ikeja area. So, from investments made perhaps even when I was not born, in my professional career, I became a beneficiary of Wemabod's investment. And you can see the connection now between what we're talking about, economic growth, employment, and real estate investment. Who was thinking of one young lawyer when they were building those places? They weren't thinking of me. But the fact that they invested and the multiplier, I bear witness, Mujembe. So this is a serious conversation to have. And this is about employment, this is about opportunities, this is about livelihoods. So as I say here, Wemabod trickled down to one young lawyer who is now guest speaker at a Wemabod event. And there are many more impacts of those investments that are either untold or unknown, or both. But the world has changed significantly since then. The internet has come, and there's global penetration. Globalization has taken place. So you don't need to go anywhere now to order something online and they will deliver it to you in your house, wherever you are in the world. And most recently, COVID-19 has happened. So these events have changed how we do business. And they have made it possible for people to work at home. And sadly, but perhaps inevitably, they are reducing the demand, in my view, for formal office spaces. That demand is dwindling. Not only here, across the entire world. And by extension, therefore, the demand for Western House and Unity type office buildings. In another few years, there may be no need for them again. As we can see, there is now very little need, if any, for post office boxes. And post offices have given way to warehouses for delivery to support online transactions. And so this is time for Wemabod to step back. And I have asked that Wemabod should undertake some informed research and high value research, well paid for and well executed, into what the real demands today represent before investing. And I think that if you have a research and development department, this must be the prime task of now. But I still recommend commercial investment, but for residential purposes, because the demand is there. We have a youth bulge, and so we have a productive workforce that also has income and therefore has effective demand. But what are they asking for? They are not asking for those kind of palaces our parents built or what some of us have built. They are not interested in them. They are interested in small apartments, 1 or 2 bedroom, and exceptionally 3-bedroom apartments. That's where, in my view, the juice is now for demand. And that is where I would be looking. That's where I would be advising, if I was on your board, subject to research, that this is where to put money now. I say this not just out of the top of my head, but out of my experience as governor and as minister for housing. When we started the Lagos Homes project, we were delivering, I think, 200 flats every month, and they were all gone on auction day. As Minister for Housing, when we did the Zuba housing estate, before we finished building, they were all bought. And you know the interesting thing? Some of those who bought those properties have moved on. Apart from capital acquisition now, those properties now earning income for them. And you just see the trickle down of the value chain. They use them now. I know a couple of people who use theirs now as Airbnbs, and when they want to use it, they don't let it out. So that's the sweet spot of the market now, in my own view. So that's my first offering to this meeting. What kind of properties should we be laying out on? Now that I have dealt with the type of property, I want to say a thing or two about locations. And truth be told, we don't need too much of a survey about this. Some people are still in denial that this country has a housing shortage of 17-something million. Nothing is further from the truth. I have repeated at every point where I've had the opportunity to speak about housing shortages that 17 million was put in the preface of a housing document, I think in 2012. The person who signed off on it, when I called, said, I'm sorry, under the pressure of work, I didn't read it. And that is a document and the number that we have been running around with. It has no scientific basis. I've dealt with it in my book. But common sense must just simply tell us. If you drive around this town, if you drive around every major town, you will see empty and unoccupied houses. Is that your experience? So, how can you have a deficit of something you have not fully used? It is only when we have unlocked all of those unused houses that we can really now say there's deficit. It defies logic. Now, how does this affect location? The real problem, if any, is in the urban centers. Housing deficit, in my view, and by my experience, is an urban problem. It's not a rural problem. Because history and experience by the planners, urban planners and developers will tell you that at no time in human experience has there been such a rapid rate of urbanization. And what is urbanization bringing? It is bringing people who are living properties, houses, in the rural areas and in the villages and coming to scramble for space in the urban center. It's a demand and supply thing. Somebody has alluded to the fact that, look, as you develop here in Lagos, be very careful because more people. So, in terms of investment, therefore, apart from the catchment, which is the young population, the place to go first is in the urban center. And so some of the things you might have to deal with might be with remodeling existing properties that are no longer fit for purpose. That's something you want to look at, in addition to new footprints. Of course, I will not exclude what's the word now? Contiguous semi-urban and peri-urban settlements. And that's the juice when the group MD was talking to us about Lekki Ekpe infrastructure. At that time, nobody wanted to go to VGC. It was the end of the earth. But it's now prime real estate, simply because of that road. And just to put in context, before that road was built, one Oba who was much older once told me that it used to take them 3 days to travel by canoe from Ibejuleki to Ekpe. And from Ibejuleki to Badagry used to be a 5-day journey by canoe when Lagos was still in its pristine form as the island. But that's a story for another day. But just to tell you what infrastructure can do. So, I have therefore talked about urban areas and semi-urban areas. I will quickly go to now a specific location that has caught my attention and which I had agitated about, but to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure what is being done about it. It is the Lagos-Ibadan rail route. That rail from Lagos to Ibadan, if I was on your board, that's where I'll be investing money. Trying to build properties within 1 to 3 kilometers from each of the 10 rail stations. You are sitting on a gold mine. Once people can walk from their train station and walk home, deal is done. Again, the connection between infrastructure and real estate. We actually started something at Ijora, Badia, that development just by the train station, but time did not allow us to finish it when I left office. So these are, for me, the places where I think that we should be putting the kind of accommodation that I have spoken about for the kind of people that I have spoken about. Now, if we do these kind of things, what do we expect to see as an impact of the economy? Let me just share again experience. So the Gbagada housing estate, the Lagos Homes housing estate, just by the expressway, I think that was one of the first ones that we started building. It was just 1 hectare of land. But on one of the visits I undertook, we did a head count of the number of people working on that site. There were over 1,000 people providing one service or the other. From those who were supplying water in tankers, those who were supplying sand, those who were vending food, those who were helping the on-site workers cut and plait their hair. It was just a value chain. But those are the small businesses that put money on the table. Those are the small businesses that bring dignity to every home. When every head of a house can get up in the morning and say those very important words, I am going to work, as against I am going to beg. Very, very important. And real estate can do this once we unlock. I recall that I met a family, very, very interesting family, at our national housing site in Ibadan. I've told this story on several occasions. I could not tell it enough. You know, they walked up to me and I said, how do you know me? They said, we used to work in one of your sites in Lagos. But when you left, it seems that the work has stopped. But when we heard that you are doing housing in Ibadan, my wife and I moved here. So what does the husband do? The husband is a mason. And what does the wife do? She cooks for the whole people on the site. So they work from Monday to Friday, come home in the weekends. These are real life experiences because those are the people I like to interact with at the sites. Some of those vendors then used to tell me that after each day's sales, they used to sell then a plate of food for about 250 naira, 300, depending on what state you are. We traversed many states. But one common denominator was that they went home with something in the region of about 3,000 to 5,000 naira every day. And that was when the national minimum wage was 18,000 a month. You do the math. They were earning almost the national minimum wage weekly. So these are the real, unmeasured, not fully reported, if measured, consequences. Those people who are kicking away, cutting away, shaving away, hauling on those construction sites are those people we are talking about their employment, are those people we are talking about cost of living, are those who are impacted. So this kind of investment is a no-brainer. It impacts them in really outstanding way. Of course, I don't know how many people here have been to a quarry. Is there anybody here who's been to a quarry? You know what's going on in quarries? The untold story of Nigeria's prosperity. Those who own quarries don't tell anybody. But go there, there's a lot of blasting, grinding, crushing, and haulage. And without quarries, there is no real estate. And when you see trucks going, go and ask National Union Road Transport Employers Association. When quarry is doing good, they own all the trucks. that haul. So that's how you begin to measure. When trucks are moving, who is moving trucks? Drivers. And what are trucks moving on? Oil and gas and lubricants. And Otumba Ashiru's state has some of the largest quarries in Nigeria. And they haven't declared how much they are making from them. So, but, hey, what else is there to say? Except to speak very quickly to a subject that is very close to my heart, and I'm done. Because it would be remiss of me not to say so, not to say something about it. But perhaps importantly, to draw everybody's attention here, especially the estate surveyors, the realtors, and the landlords, to this subject in the way that it impacts inflation management and cost of living challenges. And I speak of no other problem than asking people to pay 2 or 3 years rent in advance from salaries that they get monthly in arrears. So every time they bring that money, go and bring 3 years rent in advance, we just raise the price of our collective cost of living because the cost is passed on. And I am sure that we will see a remarkable inflationary freeze, if not a reversal, the day that rent payment converges with salary receipts. If I can pay monthly when I get my salary, you will see a movement in the economic index of this country. I hope that it happens in my lifetime, but it is something I've continued to agitate about. We did a little about it, reduced it from 3 years, I think, to a year in Lagos. But really, it's about demand and supply. How do we assuage the concerns of the landlord? What are his fears? What is he afraid of? That he wants everything in advance. Can we mitigate it somewhat? But I'm developing other thoughts on that, which time will not allow me. But that problem has a twin. It doesn't come alone. That is the rental side. But the purchase side is also problematic. When you tell somebody to go and bring 30 million or 40 million to buy a flat and you want everything in one day, it's inflationary. And so today I'm going to look at the group chairman of Vodua. I think you have the muscle as a conglomerate owned by several states and as an institutional developer to put this on the front burner in your asset development. How can you provide properties for young people on a rent-to-own basis and on a mortgage basis? So, ladies and gentlemen, I promised that I was done, and I am done. These are my thoughts on how real estate development can drive and accelerate economic development. There's not enough time to speak about so many things, capital formation and so many things. There is the untold story of the consequence of real estate development, which is maintenance. That's where the juice is, and facility management. Once you build, you can't build forever. There's a point where you stop. But real sustainable employment lies in the operation and the maintenance of the buildings. That's where all of the artisans that we have trained, all those skill workshops we do every year, we are investing people with skills. What are the jobs that we are giving to them? And maintenance is where the answer lies for sustainable economic development. Thank you very much.
State SAN CON, Dr. Babatunde Raji Fashola. Please give him another round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Please give him a round of applause. A former cabinet minister in charge of power, works, and housing. Please sit down, ladies and gentlemen. Now I'm going to ask a question, and I want everyone to be honest. Because while he was speaking, I went around the hall and I did a survey. If you are guilty of taking notes and writing down those business ideas while he was on the podium, please raise up your right hand. If you are guilty, raise it very well. Yes, because I saw almost everyone taking notes. Dr. Fashola, you've just given out a business school idea, free of charge. Now say thank you to Wemabod, please, ladies. Thank you to Wemabod Limited. Please, ladies and gentlemen, round of applause for Wemabod Limited for bringing such a powerful speaker who not only speaks on paper, but it has experience to deliver. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate your being here. And I'll pick just one point from what you said to summarize, and that is tourism real estate. Rwanda reported more than $500 million last year from just hosting events in Kigali. More than $500 million for hosting events only in Kigali. If you go online, and if you know Kigali very well, around the KICC, which is the Kigali International Conference Center, was a big roundabout with a small water fountain and all of that. Now, President Kagame is dismantling it to build another real estate. He's going to create jobs for thousands of Rwandans. They're going to build another massive real estate next to the KICC, and more money will flow in. The island of Zanzibar is competing with Tanzania in terms of tourism. What do they have? Real estate that can host major events. Where is the location in Nigeria where Burna Boy can play and attract international visitors? Tell me the venue. We don't have. We do. Where is it? Lekki, Tinapa. Thank you very much. How do we get to Tinapa? How do we get to Tinapa? That's the point. So we need not just provide housing, but also we need to provide the locations for entertainment, the creative art, the industry, the hundreds, the millions that we have of our youths who are eager to find a place to express themselves. We need to build an opera house. Do we have anyone? Who is going to build the first opera house? Oh, it exists? I don't know. Where have I been living? Oh, I've been under the rock. Oh, I need one where I can go like the one I visited elsewhere. But let's leave that story for another day. Morocco, Casablanca. The best of the cities in the world are between North and East African corridor. None of the locations we have in Nigeria is listed. And anyone can dispute that with me. I'm in the news. So we need to do a whole lot more to ensure that we can attract locations that can attract what you call the FX into this country. Let people fly into Lagos or Abuja or Tinapa, and let us also earn money from those flights and staying in hotels, cars, transportation, and everything else that we can bring in. Thank you very much. Another round of applause, please, for Babatunde Raji Fashola. Let me say a very big thank you to the Lagos State government. They sent a very huge contingent to this location for this event. Thank you very much, all of you, the commissioners for finance, housing, urban development, Lagos State. Let's give a round of applause. They're all seated in the hall. There are more than a dozen of them amongst us. Thank you very much for coming here for this 2025 event. my final comment. Can Lagos State and Ogun State build a new Lagos? I'll leave it at that. Do you know why I said so? If you've been to the new Cairo, not on paper, you will understand what it means to have real estate. Why do you think the pharaohs put the Hebrews to work for hundreds of years? Outside agriculture, there's nothing else that creates jobs and help small and medium enterprises than real estate. There's absolutely nothing. Why do you think the Chinese keep building as if houses go out of circulation? If you build a 100-story residential building of one room each, think about the tissue paper they will use in each room. The microwave, the pressing iron, the television, the broomsticks, the gas, the television, everything that will be in each room. So you can't stimulate industries if you don't do real estate. There's no way you can deliver. And that's what he said. Thank you very much, Dr. Raji Fashola. It's for your acceleration. You can't create jobs when people don't have a decent place to live, to buy a new television, to change their clothing, to have a microwave, a television, a refrigerator, a deep freezer. So if we are trying to stimulate medium enterprises, where would people live to buy those things and put them? So if you have money in your pocket to eat food and wear a good cloth, will you sleep under the bridge? No, you wouldn't. So accommodation is important. Housing, real estate. Real estate is the #1 economic enabler. Thank you, Wemabod. Now let's pay attention to this 3 minutes video. Can we dim the lights? And then I'll have my panelists come up here. Thank you.
In 2024, Wemabod Limited redefined success in the real estate industry, achieving extraordinary milestones that solidify our legacy as a pioneering force in the real estate industry. We started the year strong with the 2024 Real Estate Outlook, where thought leaders and industry experts came together to uncover the challenges and the untapped potential shaping the real estate future.
Financial resilience has been the cornerstone of our success. We proudly secured the prestigious A- rating from Augusto & Co.
and successfully registered a 50 billion bond
with Series 1 completed. These accomplishments highlight our strong financial performance and strategic initiatives.
Our commitment to progress was evident in the launch of major projects, including the Jewel, which is located in Marina, and Wemabod Serenity Estate at Ikota. These projects set new standards and sustainable architecture.
Wemabod's leadership also stood out in the media space. Our managing director, Mr. Yemi Ejidiran, delivered valuable insights on the future of Channels Television.
Given its long history and experience in the real estate sector, I do believe that Wemabod is likely to continue to play a significant role in shaping the real estate market in Nigeria.
Behind every success story is a team united in purpose. In 2024, our management retreat became a fort for innovation, where ideas converged, bonds strengthened, and the next wave of leadership emerged.
2024 also marked the end of an era. we bid farewell to our chairman, Mr. Emmanuel F. Ntayo, managing director, Mr. Yemi Ejidiran, and company secretary, Mrs. Adoloy Olukemi. Their impact and contributions remain an integral part of Wemabod's DNA.
At Wemabod, our clients are the backbone of our success. In 2024, we honor their loyalty and trust during our annual
to a new era of leadership. Wemabod's future is brighter than ever. Visionary leaders are stepping forward, ready to push boundaries, inspire change, and continue our legacy of excellence.
As we reflect on our successes of 2024, I want to thank our partners, clients, and the entire Wemabod family for your unwavering trust and support. 2024 was a testament to the power of collaboration and our shared value. Looking forward, we are more committed than ever, transforming Nigeria real estate landscape by delivering world-class projects that enhance communities and build lasting legacies. Together, we will keep pushing boundaries, creating innovative spaces that inspire and shape the future. The best.
Thank you very much. Please bring on the lights. Thank you very much, Wemabod. We appreciate that. Just a quick, I hope that is coming on the screen right now. We are circulating just a little bit of this. The program in hard copy was not available for everyone, so you can scan the images, what is coming on the QR code. Where is it? Please, can you project that to the wall, so that we can see that? You can just do a scan and you can download the program, the brochure. You can also scan the questions in that you want to ask the panelists and our keynote speaker, and you can also take the event survey that we're also sending out. Where are those QR code, if they can do it, or we just do with the hard copy and we can just circulate that around. Let's do that very quickly so that we can move on. Now let's get on to the panel discussion, and my number one panelist is none other than our keynote speaker. Put your hands together for Dr. Babatunde Raji Fashola, SAN, CON, to please give a round of applause, sir. Not retired and not tired. Thank you very much. Please give me a round of applause. Please keep it coming. Keep it coming. You're going to take the center stage. Please also being invited is Barrister Kemi Olomola Shijuwade. Please put your hands together also for architect Erejua Gbadebo. Please, madam, another round of applause to the podium. Madam, please, take a seat. Okay. Will you kindly take a seat, madam? Thank you very much. Now, let me also invite Mr. Festus Adebayo. And finally, but not the least, ESV Adekunle Oluwafemi Alonge, FNIVS. Gentlemen, please, that would be my seat, if you don't mind. Would you kindly take a seat here? Over there to the left. Thank you. This way, sir. Thank you very much. Now, each of you has a microphone that is placed next to your seat. And the reason why we are set far apart by the organizers is that we can have different views, but come together with a very... Can I please have some of our helpers to please move this aside a bit, please? It's blocking. Please, could you just move this a few meters away? Thank you. Hold on, don't get Thank you. Just a few house cleaning. If you are taking notes from our guest speaker or keynote speaker, please do not raise your hand to ask extra questions on how to implement the business ideas that you've written down. That will be warehouse, will be one-on-one on consultancy basis. Do I speak your mind, Dr. Fashola, please? No one should ask any further question about those business ideas you gave. No, yes, yeah, I've got his, unless I'm going to get a commission from that. So let me start, and I thank you all, everyone, for being here, my panelists. Time is fast spent, and I'm going to start with Mrs. Architect Cheredu Agbadibo. In terms of what the government can do to encourage and reward infrastructural development by private developers. And I read in the news yesterday that the second tranche, I'm in the news, by the way. Just press this. Okay, there you go. You got a green light. Yes, that the second tranche of the government mortgage funding is now up. The first was 150 billion. Now the 100 billion was reported yesterday that is going to be available. The government wants the private sector to buy in, private investors like my friends who are seated over there, who have spent many years in investment banking. Do you see that to support Nigeria to have a real estate at maybe around 10, 11% WD for 25 years? Do you think that is one of the ways to encourage real estate sector in Nigeria development? How do you respond?
First of all, good morning, everyone. So, one of the reasons your average person cannot actually purchase housing or purchase property is because there is no long-term loan at a low enough rate for them to be able to pay from their salaries. As a good doctor on my right said, he would love to see rents linked to the receipt of salaries. But the same thing, most people earn a salary or a wage on a monthly basis. And out of whatever it is they take home after taxes have been paid, they've got to provide shelter, they've got to provide food, they've got to provide school fees and all of those things.
Healthcare, Medicare. Yeah.
And if they could then link the payment for their property on a monthly basis over a period of years, that would help. Countries that have a good mortgage system actually allow for payments over 25 years. Often the rate is really quite low. Personally, I think 10% is high. I don't think mortgage interest payments should be higher than maybe 2, 3, 4% over a period of 25 years. But all these things link back. They link back to things like, for example, long-term loans at low rates to developers from banks. You can't get that. I know of countries whereby you can get a loan for construction, and it's not payable back until after the first 5 years. Again, it takes a good, strong, not just strong economy, but a good, the word actually has escaped me just now, like those institutions that have, can't think of it right now, but it takes those things that have been long in the system, good governance in so many different sectors, to allow banks and financial institutions to have the confidence to loan to good contractors, good developers, those that have reputational clout, I would say, to allow these things to happen. I mean, there's so many ways. I think making these big announcements, let me be very honest, I'm kind of cynical about them. Yeah, talk is cheap. What are we actually doing? How are we actually making this affordable? If you take a general poll in this room, how many people have accessed the first lot of mortgages? Put your hands up if you've been able to access the first lot of mortgages that they are. Oh, you got one.
You didn't see my hand. You didn't see my hand.
No, I didn't see your hand go up.
No, you didn't. No,
but these are some of the problems. I cannot access a mortgage. I tried. And I said, what, am I making money out of gold? So you either have to beg, borrow, or steal, or make loads of money to be able to buy one off. And I know because I develop and I sell. And I know the difficulties that developers have. And I don't know if the good doc remembers, but he was the one who said ages ago that there's no such thing as low-cost housing until you can actually, we don't even make toilets in Nigeria, and every house needs to have at least one. So everything has to be imported. Has to be imported means foreign exchange. I could go on. So
was that the reason why landlords want this upfront 2 years, 3 years?
Landlords want upfront 2 years, 3 years, and I'm not advocating for landlords, but I can kind of understand their pain. We as a nation do not have integrity when it comes to payments. So landlord says, well, let me just take my 2-3 years upfront. I can relax for 2-3 years. That's number one reason. Number two reason, we don't have a judicial system that actually makes the recovery of property from a tenant who is not paying easy enough for the landlords. I've known landlords who've resorted under the guise of facility management to remove the roof on their property to get a tenant who has not paid 2-3 years out of their property. And they can, I've known a landlord who the tenant left without paying, took the landlord to court. It stayed in court for 5 years. Then the court ruled in favor of the landlord, and the tenant now went back 10 years. This man did not make money from his investment. So landlords feel they need to do this in order to actually get their... And the reverse is also true. The landlords, well, there's also the fact that they want to get the money as quickly as possible, change it into a currency that is a little bit more stable than our flip-flopping naira, in order that there's a, that they get some return on their investment. So our problems are many.
All right, I appreciate it. Let me ask Mr. Festus Adebayo. Well said, madam, well said. It's been said that land is a major issue here and for real estate in Nigeria, and how can the government make land more accessible for real estate development and environmental projects and things like that?
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and I don't want to start my comments without thanking my former minister for that his loaded keynote address. But I must say here that the last statement on the youth, I love it. That is the way to go. But in the area of number of houses, in the houses for I am on an assignment from one state to another state. What I'm doing now is I'm looking for the houses that have been completed, that no one is occupying. When I finish and I tell my minister, I'm sure we'll be laughing that this is what he has been saying. Between Bauchi and Jigawa, we are having over 5,000 houses being developed. I would not like to mention the name of the organization. A federal government agency.
Yes.
And
yes.
the houses
yes.
are not being occupied.
Yes.
My honorable minister has spoken about location. I will, maybe at the end of the report, we will know why those houses, why they have been completed and they are not being occupied. And that makes me to go to your question. The biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenge of real estate development in Nigeria is land. Access to land. Give my driver a land. Give him a paper to that land. He will build one bedroom for himself. I Either he go to that site every Saturday with his wife and a bricklayer, they will start with one room. And they will end up delivering their house through incremental method. Access to land is a big problem. And in fact, I must say here today that getting CFO from Alausa is not a ticket for you, for the Omoniles, to allow you to take over that land. And that makes us to know that that is a big problem. I would like to use this opportunity of this Wemabod program to call on the federal government of Nigeria to look into the issue of land, access to land. Let me tell you there, when you talk about access to land, there are a lot of corruption that are involved. Go to Abuja, you know what is going on in the area of land racketeering and land grabbing. You understand what I'm talking about. The Minister for FCT in December demolished about 100 units of houses under the allegation that those houses were grabbed, that they were not formally allocated to them. So issue of land is a serious problem. And if you leave land alone, for you to get the documentation of your land, the corruption that is involved is so many. Is so many. Even when government say give you land free. My honorable minister got land from different states during his tenure, and all of us were praising him. Sorry, he himself will tell you, I'm sure the minister must have had a case where a land was given to him by the state government, and he said, no, I don't want that land. You cannot give me a land in a good place. The problem of Sagari housing is wrong location. The state government are the one that owns the land. The majority of the land belongs to them. And unfortunately, they are not using it. Not all of them are using it the way it should be. So when you ask for land, they take you to the remote of the city. If they give someone who is collecting small salary a place that is too far to his place of work, he will not go there. Land is a serious matter. We must look into it.
Yes.
The government must reform land in Nigeria.
All right. So you're speaking to the Land Use Act.
It has to be reformed. We have to look at the area that is giving problem. And we also discovered that implementation by various individuals is even one of the basic problems, not the law itself. These are the areas we have to look into.
We have an SAN on the panel, and Egbon will permit me just this once. I think that's a matter we want you to react to when the time comes. Let me ask Barrister Kemi Olomola Shijuade about how real estate investors, and I'm not talking about the private sector, and not ministers and governors and all that. Some folks believe that there are policy changes that could drastically impact investors, developers and others in your industry, in the real estate industry. How do you think this could be mitigated? What are some of the strategies you think they should adopt to mitigate that? Yes, sir.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Wemabod, for the opportunity to contribute to this real estate outlook. Yes, in terms of policy change, the global socio-economic landscape itself is quite evolving rapidly, and Nigeria is not insulated from what is going all over the world. Therefore, the rising inflation, forex fluctuations will definitely have an impact on how we operate our business as developers. Therefore, the strategies we might want to consider as developers or real estate investors are for us to be able to brace up for the policy shifts, which is inevitable. I would like to suggest a few points in terms of staying informed. Number one is for us to stay informed and to be proactive. So we must be able to track policies. We must do stakeholder engagements. We must be able to make our decisions based on data. So data-driven decision has to be made, as in real-time data for the markets. That has to be considered. One aspect that is extremely important as well is in the area of strengthening our risk management and scenario planning. So we must be able to plan different scenarios when we want to go to the market. And hold tight in turbulent times. We have to be vigilant, track market trends, and know that we understand the investment we are trying to work on. The aspect of modeling every possible scenarios, whether we want to be pessimistic, optimistic, or we want to stay in the middle. We just have to be able to run the numbers and be sure that we understand what we are doing and what the trend is speaking to. Our investment as well needs to be resilient. So we must be able to adapt investment strategies that will go with the policy trends. There is the importance of considering using local materials. So we must be able to look inward. Probably, I think when the governor was speaking the other time, speak into us looking into research. He spoke about Wemabod considering research. So can we be innovative enough to look at what we can develop internally? We are a nation of large population, so we must be able to be deliberate in our activities to building local materials that we can use. We have those resources, and we must be able to utilize it. I know that in Nigeria, we are not bereft of ideas. It is the implementation that we have challenges with. But with deliberate attempts being made by ourselves, then we are able to achieve that. Also, we must be able to leverage on tax planning, financial and tax planning. Probably we want to optimize our tax structures, consider alternative financing. The world is tailing towards the green economy now. Do we want to build green and then be able to leverage on such funds, which can be blended to allow us to have exposure to funds that are lower than what we have that is obtainable here. So for us to be able to survive and thrive in policy changes and in uncertainties, we must be informed. I think it's good for us to be well informed, leverage on local opportunities, and preparing for multiple scenarios. By that, we'll be able to survive even if there's going to be turbulent times. And being nimble, be able to change quickly and react quickly to changes in the society will help as well. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. A round of applause for Mrs. Shijuade. Thank you so much. We appreciate your contributions. Let me ask Mr. Victor Alungere about low-interest financing. I'm sure this conversation would definitely go around just 2 or 3 pillars. Most likely, money will be number one. I think money and land will be, and the rest we can just circle around. In terms of low-interest financing for real estate in local currency, we set up the NMRC, which is the Nigerian Mortgage Refinancing Company. Then you've got agencies such as Shelter Afrique, under which Nigeria is one of the major shareholders, headquartered in Nairobi, and we're a major contributor. I think, I don't know, in terms of equity, whether. So, how much of low-interest financing for real estate can be done in local currency, considering what Madam said earlier, that even for a toilet, virtually everything in the toilet are imported. Perhaps with the exception of the tissue paper, which you might likely use there. And the water. You have the floor.
Thank you very much. Let me thank Wemabod for this opportunity. And I also want to thank the former minister for that beautiful keynote speech. Real estate financing. I think there are 2 aspects to it. We have the development financing, and then we have the investment financing. I think what we're talking about here is development financing to make it happen.
Yes.
The truth of the matter is, my colleague has already spoken about the artificial nature of our so-called low interest financing. And you rightly said that the second tranche of 100 billion from the federal government designated low interest financing for real estate has just opened for commercial investors. Incidentally, this structure is not going to be directly accessible to members of the public. It has to be done through designated mortgage, secondary mortgage organizations. But the truth of the matter is, whether it is 12% or it is 10%, what are we actually building that on? Say this: the majority of those who need real estate, who need housing, are the low-income earners. The minister said, quite frankly, that we have a lot of properties, especially in Abuja. If you go to Abuja, a lot of empty houses. But the point actually is, those empty houses are not accessible to those who need the housing. And most of those houses are actually owned by big people, most of them in government, and so on and so forth. So if we are looking at financing, low interest financing, we need to look at affordability. Even if we have 12%, real estate developers come out, access it, develops it. I don't know how many people will want to go and develop, for instance, in Lagos here, to go and develop in Alagbado, for either sale or renting, and still be able to recoup even that 11%. I think we need to look at the structure. The government needs to be honest, and we've always said this, even from our own professional body, that there is a need for more engagement between government and relevant professionals. Government has to actually come clearly in terms of affordable housing, and then other aspects of housing, social housing. What we need mostly is social housing for those civil servants and those low-income people, and then affordable housing. Affordable housing is where you have low-interest financing, and then people can access it. But we have not been able. All government policy up to date have been muddled up. You can, if you ask government officials, what is the difference between affordable housing and social housing, you don't get clarity. You don't get clear response.
Okay.
Yes.
I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to allow the government official on the panel.
Yeah.
The only government official on this panel was my former governor and the former minister for Power, Works and Housing. We understand you have other engagements, so I want you to take a few points on land reforms. Very quickly, walk us through that for just about a minute or two. And if we can get clarity on affordable housing and social housing. And finally, there was a statement that you made just before you left office as the governor of Lagos State. And you were talking about the CFOs. And you said most of the CFOs you were signing while you were in office were for religious or worship places. And that if that is done, then where would we find those who would develop locations for industries, manufacturing, and others? Well, that sounds like too distant ago, I understand. But let's start with the land matters. Because it looks like religious places seem to have it very quick when it comes to getting land, while others, developers, don't seem to get it. You are not in Victor.
Because they pray hard.
Oh,
They
here
fast
we go.
to
Here
make
we
sure
go.
that the governor signs on time.
Pray for your CFO. Do I hear amen? Pray. Start now. But let's listen to our keynote speaker first.
Thank you very much, and I must thank the eminent members of the panel, and they're reaffirming some of what I said on the podium, that there's nothing new we're going to say here. What is going to change is what we do. But quick house clearing, just to speak to a statement I made on the podium when I was talking about multiple years rent, and I mentioned estate surveyors, and they took the point of view. I wasn't essentially laying the blame on your door. That was not my intention. And the idea of multiple years rent came from certain events that are embedded in our history. And it was like the saying that they say that when the bird learns to fly without perching, the hunter must learn to shoot without missing. So, but there are problems that are not without solutions. So one of the solutions that we offered, because it was first to understand that there's a case on both sides. The landlord spent his working years acquiring a property that becomes, hopefully, a source of income and sustenance when he's no longer able to work. And then somebody denies it from him as a tenant who defaults and does not leave, and then the judicial system, which seeks to protect appropriately people from being illegally thrown out, because also that has happened. So there's always a balance on both sides that seem to have been pushed beyond their original frontiers. And all of the instances cited are from experience. You see, I have played at the entire spectrum of the property business. I was a tenant, I became a landlord, I was lawyer for landlord, I acted for tenant, depending on who briefed me and who paid me. Then I became governor and regulator. So I've seen the entire spectrum of the industry. So one of the things we did back with Lagos Homes was to say, first of all, that if you took a mortgage under Lagos Homes and you defaulted, we wrote a provision of the law into it that first is arbitration. We're not going to high court. So it's by contract. To say by contract, the high court has no jurisdiction in this matter. That was our contract with all Lagos Homes owners. And we then set arbitration to last for 21 days. No more. And the cost was going to be borne by the party who lost. So if you are in default, then we then provided alternative. If you fall on bad economic times, you can't afford to pay the mortgage for a 3-bedroom, move to a 2-bedroom. And further to a 1-bedroom. And as hard as this may sound, but it is logical economic sense. If you don't have a job, how can you reasonably expect to own a home? The priority of government must change from that time to providing a home for you, to providing a job for you. So, and sustainably, we were delivering, and I'm going to repeat it here, 200 flats every month in Lagos between 2013 and 2015. And it was for first home owners only, which speaks to who needs the house. Not for people who wanted to acquire it and rent. So the rules were made very clear. And I'm going into this detail so that we all remember that we know the problems, but we have to keep thinking through and creating ways. I remember, and he will forgive me now if he hasn't, a cabinet member won the Lagos homes. And we took it back because the rules were made very clear. That if you have acquired land in Lagos, you are not eligible. If you have bought any of our houses before, you are not eligible. The only people who were eligible were first home owners. So we can create new rules. Just for the landlord and the tenant, for example, if I have a job and Wemabod is my employer and Architect Rejua is my landlady, and the real concern she has is that she wants her income steadily, why can't Wemabod not issue me a guarantee to my employer to say we will deduct that rent at source every month and pay it to the account of the landlord? That is one way. There may be other ways like insurance to guarantee that if the tenant defaults, insurance company pays. Because I think that until we bring down this problem of mismatch between rent and salaries, we have a major driver of inflation running wild in our economic system. But these are very specific items that maybe technical sessions following this outlook can go in. So what did we do? In Governor Tinubu's time, when I was his chief of staff, the first thing he did was scan all of the CFOs. That was revolutionary at the time. So once you have it in digital form, we move from ledger to digital form. The next thing we did in my time was to then create online digital signatures. I used to travel then and carry suitcases of CFO just to sign. But once we digitized using the Oracle system, I could sign 600 in a day. So that slowed down the process. But is that process still in operation? I don't know. So, and this will apply to many other states. Just a few quick ones just before I go. I think I've touched now. Somebody asked if you build a house now in Alagbado and speaking to location. Yes, Alagbado is prime real estate now. The train passes through Alagbado. It's one of the stations, Agbado. So build there. Why not? Use the train and come in. So the infrastructure is already changing how we look at the location. And between social housing and affordable housing, is that social housing? It's affordable if you have a job. And if you are not paying, because if you call it, the social housing is for rent. But if you now say it's 3 years rent in advance, then it's no longer affordable. So we need to be very careful with these terminologies. And I think the final point, and I think I'm done, is about the example of your driver being given land. Again, we must balance. Land is also a form of, is a critical element in capital formation. So they don't give it. You buy, and you buy where you can afford. And the truth about our society and our existence and our civilization really is that some people, no matter how hard they work in life, given their status, they will never be able to buy land in place A. They can only afford place B. And that is reality. And one way to help those kind of people, because you can't just give land to everybody and then everybody starts building indiscriminately. there's urban planning and development control that is going to impact access, utilities, and so on and so forth. Otherwise, he has just... But it's true. In some other jurisdictions, the first thing they don't find everybody to what you can build. I know an estate, long before I got into government, they partitioned the estate among themselves, but they didn't create a road, so nobody could build.
Please, thank you very much, everyone. We have just about 10 minutes more, but let me just say a very big thank you to everyone who has been here. This is well attended. Thank you very much for coming. It's a matter of national interest. Let me say a very big thank you. Please, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Otumba Francis Mishoye, OFR, the president of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria. You are duly recognized, so please stand up for recognition. Thank you so much. We appreciate your coming in to this very event. Let me also appreciate Mr. Frank Obosun, the managing director of Knight Frank. That's one of the developers and institutions in Nigeria. Where are you, sir? All right, thank you very much. Let's make speed with my panelists on some of the issues. And I'm going to come back to Barrister Kemi Olomola on the issue of the empowerment of local governments and what opportunities that the government can take in accelerating and ensuring that real estate projects and developments are done. Because when we talk about real estate and infrastructure and all that, the government, the current administration is devolving a whole lot more to the local government, which is the bottom of the pyramid. And the more, I think, we devolve to the bottom of the pyramid, the better we can catalyze this conversation. Again, our keynote speaker spoke about those houses that are in the villages and towns that are not occupied, because many of us ran away to Lagos. I was one of them in the 80s. So how can we use the local government level to also catalyze real estate so that for those who are developers, for investors, DFIs, pension fund, whoever want to go into this business, are not just looking at Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and they can also go to these other areas of the country. Thank you. So that we can spread housing development or real estate development in Nigeria so that we don't just come together in one single location. Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much, sir. In terms of spreading and to encourage people to remain in their locality, the best the government can do is to put infrastructures and take development to those areas. Whereby, for example, if we have a licensing office of a particular government organization working from a particular state, for example, then the workers in that environment will have to remain in that locality. But before that can be achieved as well, there is need for infrastructure. I think infrastructure majorly stands in the middle of development. So that is key. And with the recent push for local government autonomy in Nigeria, local government now play a more significant role in economic development. So particularly in real estate and construction sector, if you want to look at, given the rising cost of materials, even when you look at the forex exchange, I mentioned earlier the need for us to begin to look inward and see how can we proactively promote the use of our local materials. I am of the opinion that local government, being close to the people, can enhance these activities of producing locally. I'll give an example of Kenya. So they have what they call Kenya County government, whereby they create artisan hubs. That's an example whereby our local government can begin to bring people together, create an enabling environment. So sometimes the challenges these artisans or the manufacturers have is being able to, on their own, set up an institute for themselves, set up an establishment for themselves. It becomes a bit challenging. But when there's an hub where they could go to produce materials, that can really go a long way to help. So local artisans like making doors, windows, locks, can use our indigenous materials to produce that, if the local government can actually enable them to do that. That's one of the things that can be done. So small-scale manufacturers are able to leverage on that. The model is going to allow for economy of scale, because now mostly everyone are using the same resources. It enables cost reduction, and then it produces job locally. So if we are doing this manufacturing locally, it enables people to stay in their location as well, because they know they are producing something. The need also to aggregate the supply chain is important. One of the major drivers of high construction costs is the fragmentation of the supply chain. So many materials are imported because there is no coordinated effort to mass produce. So this is an area where I think if government-backed material production zones are set up, that can go a long way to help us as well. And then incentivizing public-private partnership, because we cannot at this point say local governments go and do this business. I heard something earlier that says local government has no business in business. So it's just for them to be able to enable it. And them serving as an enabler will go a long way. Another way local government can help is by creating trainings for artisans. I recall, well, in the past, there's this technical education, technical school that was there in the time past. I'm not sure whether we have many of those now, which I think fall under the ambits of local governments, and they should be able to implement that, and that will go a long way.
The government is bringing it back, perhaps into the educational system, so that we have more vocational.
Connecting the town.
Like you rightly said, Kenya, East Africa. If you look at Rwanda, if you stand on any of the hills in Kigali and you look at the houses, you find out that majority of them were built from locally made materials. And that is the case. They use local resources to build most of the houses. And that also helped them to cut.
So local government can actually enhance that.
Can do that. Give me a second. Let me ask Mr. Arumularon about the industry. If you look at the real estate, I think there's so much money to be made there. You have too many of you in the business. You have valuers, you have developers, you have real estate associations, professional associations. So it looks like there's a big money to be made in that industry. But again, when you when they all come together, you need credibility, you need finance, you need investment in that. Why is that not happening despite the fact that you have so many associations and professional bodies in the real estate industry in Nigeria?
All right, good afternoon.
Yeah, you have the floor. Yes, I guess it's gone green, yes.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. Is it afternoon yet?
Yes.
All right, so let me first take it.
This afternoon you are buying lunch for me, so go ahead.
You always like. All right, so let me first add to what she said. Again, let us remember that the local government, the state government, the federal government are just structures of administration. Lagos State is Lagos State, divided into divisions and all of that. Or your state, Osun State, Gombe State, Mohammed. I mean, anywhere. The land in a state belongs to the state. And let me use Lagos as an example. And I'll link it to that question. The railroad system right now, imagine in Lagos, has made it easy for commuting. The reason why we have an urban challenge is the issue of commuting from wherever you stay. So that means if I take my real estate asset to a place like Badagry and I create economic activity in there where the population in that local government will not be encouraged to come into the Lagos urban center. So we need to redefine. So I have lived in the UK, for example, and I've lived and worked also in the US. If you notice and compare, it is the transportation system in London especially that does not encourage any one of us to drive into city or to live in city because we can come in by the train. Now, what the Lagos train network is doing is to say you can actually live in Agbado and under 45 minutes you can be in Marina. So you don't have to drive your car. That means there will be economic saving where that individual family can direct the savings elsewhere. The reason right now is that there's too much pressure. So even when you listen to His Excellency, it has always been a concern for me, this wrong matching. And that's another benefit of living in the UK. The matching of source to demand. Now, coming back to this, which is why we're here.
Yes.
This is LSTPC. We're here with Wemabod. It's collaboration. It's no longer competition. It's a major cycle. And how we compartmentalize who does what, under what terms, and how, and delivery of integrity. So many times, handymen, workmen, many times we all go now to Benin Republic, the neighboring countries, to get workmen because workmen's integrity in our nation has been lost. Now, again, let me do a country comparison. You call a plumber out in the UK, for example, in London. They will charge you per hour for call out. They haven't looked at the problem.
Yeah.
It's call out. So there is integrity and there is regard and respect for handymen. With integrity, we still have one or two problems there. But here, a workman, a plumber, a masonette says, I will do this work and I will finish it in one day. They will take the next 2 weeks.
He's busy working somewhere else, doing other jobs for which he has collected from five different
Exactly.
people.
So it's a huge financial cycle. And there's always a portion of the value chain that you can play and you are comfortable.
So the collaboration, for example, between Wemabod,
LSTPC.
Limited and LSTPC, what are some of the...
All right, fantastic. So Wemabod brings to the table 60 years plus. LSTPC brings to the table 50 years plus.
That's 110 years.
That's 110 years of what? Of 4 E's. Education, exposure, experience, and expertise. Skilled manpower. Don't forget that this generation were the ones who learned. Yeah, they have a challenge because everything has gone digital. So we need to upskill them, which is what we're doing right now in LSTPC. We're upskilling that generation because that generation understood the work, but they haven't trained the next generation to, and they understood one thing also, integrity and commitment. They haven't been able to pass it down. And that's a reflection of everything in the society. The whole value system has been lost. And another thing we're doing, like I said, so we bring knowledge, we bring skills, we bring competence to the table, and then we bring support to all stakeholders. So we're doing a lot of JV, joint venture, real estate development. We're also doing our own direct projects, and we're offering all of this. And so rather than come here and compete with our brother, we have collaborated to say whatever restrictions we have, we leverage on you. And the beauty of collaboration is this: you can spread your risk and aggregate returns.
Exactly.
And like we're saying earlier on, the returns we...
Yeah, with return spreads a whole lot better.
Yeah.
And you can get the bigger investment money.
Absolutely.
Between both of you if you go to international. Madam is smiling. Let me allow her to have the floor. She can smell the money. She's always smiling.
Because we're taking out the competition.
So give me your outlook for 2025. Let's begin to look at the new year. And based on what the government is doing and saying in terms of devolving more to the regions, to the local governments and what have you, where do you see real estate in catalyzing economic development? Yes. Architects.
Why do you always ask me questions that I find difficult? Look, I'm an advocate for the built environment. Doesn't matter which way you put it. I am an advocate for affordable accommodation, wherever that is. I'm also an advocate for luxury accommodation because it has its place. I am an advocate for commercial properties. You cannot exist and do business in any shape or form anywhere in the world without a building. So I'm an advocate. Why was I smiling? Because both our keynote speaker, the good prince over here, all the gentlemen and the young lady over there, one of the things that is underlying everything that is being said here is the interconnectivity of the different things that make these things possible. You're talking about an artisan who doesn't come on time to do his work. I'm thinking, how much are we paying him compared to the artisan with the same level of qualification in the UK or America who probably earns more than your average architect or doctor because their skills. And God forbid you should have a leak in the middle of the night and call out the plumber as an emergency. Guy will send his child to private school on the amount he'll charge you. But we will argue with our artisans, it's too much now, and spend 3 times that amount that you are quarreling with him about to go and have a drink on a Friday night. So I'm thinking, but then again, I'm thinking, what are the banks doing? Anyone who knows me knows, and I'm really sorry if there are any bankers here. I do not like the banks here. Because unfortunately, they also have a role to play that they are not playing. How much benefit are they giving to the developers, to those who want to buy? How much are they helping? But then again, they are also constrained. How do they lend when they don't have a database to enforce repayments? So all these things are connected and interconnected. I didn't for a minute think that our keynote speaker, the good doc as I called him, was blaming us in real estate for the issues of long rentals. But you can see again that long rentals came because people didn't pay. People can't pay because of long rentals. So what fundamentally this says to me is that we don't have institutions that have a reputation for excellence. I've worked with Wemabod. I've done work for Wemabod. I have been a contractor to Wemabod in various guises through different estates that they have and all of that. I have a lot of respect for the likes of Wemabod. I have a lot of respect for LSDPC. I know LSDPC right back from when, even things like Dolphin Estate and all the different things that you've invested in. And I begin to see, and I'm seeing companies like Wemabod pull back from our lackadaisical way of doing things, pull back from our lack of integrity, and actually begin to enforce what I see as global best practice. Look, I could go on and on and on and on and on.
Yes.
The real thing that I believe needs to happen, not just in this industry, but anywhere, is a deliberate, how would I say, a deliberate attempt for individuals like myself to work with integrity in accordance with the laws that we have in this country, irrespective of whether or not we feel anybody is looking.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Let's give her a round of applause. Thank you, madam. I love that. I'm sure Bolahan wants to say, if I give just 60 seconds only, because I need to go to the floor very soon.
All right, the outlook for 2025, and I'm going to say this very carefully. The first thing is we need a mind orientation. Let me give you what I mean by that. It's always nice to use the system and the structure that you have to achieve your goal in times. Take, for example, crowdfunding is something that we have spoken about, but we have not really exhaustively looked at the advantages of it and how we can use what exists right now. Take, for example, if you take my wage slip, for example, you'll find an item there called housing allowance. Do I use my housing allowance as rent? Not necessarily, not all the time, but I get it annually. Could we crowdfund a generation to use their housing allowance and say, can we put it all together? The National Housing Fund has been there. The pension system says you can take 25% as a deposit. All of this exists already. And then the other one that I believe we should change the narration because of my experience working abroad is, why buy me a car for 85 million as a status car? Why buy me liability? I have worked in the UK, I've worked in the US. We must use what exists that are sustainable. We are working out of sustainable financial systems. So I resume as an ED. You invest in me 68 million as a status car. The moment I drive that car out, it becomes a liability, even before I drive it out. Because before I drive it out, you must take out the insurance. Mm-hmm. You must pay for all the papers. Yes. So majority of us in this hall, we're driving our houses on the road. We need to change that narrative. We should consciously ask ourselves, our financial system's real? If I'm a government official, and I'm not saying this to deride anybody, you have 6-4 jeeps in your convoy. Now, let's think about it really. Those are resources that can be transferred elsewhere. Now, if I ask, and I'm not again asking you to change your lifestyle, but I just sit back and I think there's so many things we can do as individuals. Since you're asking for the outlook in 2025, let me say something, for example. Why should I buy an iPhone for 2.6 million? So, if I crowdfund 10 iPhones, 20 iPhones, in age brackets, friends among ourselves, we buy a parcel of land. And because I don't want to build a mansion, we have the land. What do? We go up. We build apartments, so we're 5 friends. We bring our 2 million for our iPhone together. We buy a land. We build 5 level floors. Each one of us take an apartment. We don't need to live there. It becomes a B&B and we rent it out. And we make money from it. We buy the next one. That is how you use real estate for 2025 as a catalyst for accelerated economic growth. That was what I wrote here. There's so many things we can do.
Everyone is clapping. Just to inform everyone that Wemabod staff are waiting there at the door to execute all of you that has iPhone of 2.5 million.
We should collect it from them.
Yeah, we should just, we're going to put it in the housing, real estate.
But there's so many things, like my former governor said, His Excellency, there's so many conversations that we need to take out of here.
Yes.
But there are some ideas that are in my head, based on my own exposure, that I feel we're not getting things
Mr.
right.
Olaron, I shouldn't be making phone calls with my house. That's what you're saying. That I could just, where is this? This is not 2.6, by the way. Please, everyone, just stick with it. So it could just be my house in Lekki, right?
Yes.
Hello? Yes. I cannot be a landlord and be a Land Rover. Hold on a second.
You cannot be a tenant and be riding a Land Rover.
Put that away somewhere.
Yeah, but that's what's happening now.
Yes, that's
And then when the car breaks down,
yes.
you know what they do?
I was taking a picture of the phone. Okay.
When we're under even the iPhone, now there's nothing wrong with buying an iPhone, but we're underutilizing the iPhone because what we're really doing is TikToking.
I understand.
Yes, no, I'm not talking to you. You should understand.
Yes,
you are
do.
not in that age group.
I know.
If you start buying a house now,
Yes.
you might not finish paying it before the Lord calls you. But I'm talking.
Let me check whether he called me while the program.
Oh, okay. How many calls?
Text message.
But
I
I'm
haven't seen
talking.
the Lord
I'm
text.
talking to a generation. Sincerely,
Yes.
I'm speaking to a generation. The earlier we begin to do a mind reorientation and begin to. So when you talk about financial matching, don't just wait for the government. Look at what you can match. There are many groups. You see why I like this generation is that I see when I tweet something and it takes generations for it to be retweeted. But they tweet and immediately 100 million people retweet. That means it's easy for you guys to crowdfund. And there are many ways to crowdfund. There's so many things you can do in the value chain of real estate that can position you very comfortably for 2025. One thing you must not do early is to take on liability when you make a breakthrough early. Restructure, reorganize your personal finance to ensure that at a young age, you see, when we were working in the UK, by 18, we're already applying for a mortgage and we could start with a condo. We're not married, so there was no encumbrance on our salary. So we could start with a condo, and then the salary increased, we moved to a 1-bedroom. It increases, we moved to a bedroom. By the time we're getting married, I'm ready to do a 3-bedroom. And then I bring my wife and myself together, and we can expand our financial base to do certain things.
And I'm going to charge you for those financial advice. I'm going to take a call. I ask the
All right.
managing director. Thank you
Thank
very much. Let's give a round of applause. Let's go to Mr. Victor Alunga in terms of advocacy, and as I'm sure the law the industry can do. And I want you to tap that for me and give me a sense of what you and other professional associations in the sector will drive this year, and why do you think that is important?
Thank you very
give me
much.
that in 1 minute. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I think before I actually speak to that, I want to focus us back on the main topic or the theme of this particular engagement, which is real estate development, a catalyst for Nigeria's accelerated economic development, like the minister, in 2025, no matter what the budgetary provisions and policies that we have, I think one thing we need to understand, and I want to point us to a particular book, which is absolutely key. It is called The Mystery of Capital. Why capitalism succeeds in the Western world but fail in everywhere else. And that is the importance of land. Every country that has actually succeeded economically, the developed countries, they have been able to manage their land resources effectively. And the truth of the matter is, when the Honorable Minister was talking about, rightly so, developing commercial properties, housing, real estate is not just about providing houses for people to go to work or to live or whatever. It is about, accelerating the economic development. because PwC, a couple of years ago, estimated debt capital that we have in this country to be around 900 billion US dollars. And that is capital, especially in the real estate sector, that are dead, that you cannot actually take out to the finance sector and then release equity to develop your business.
Yes.
In developed countries, if you have homes, you have equity in those homes, you can go to the bank, release that equity, invest it in your business. And that is how economic development is actually accelerated. So it is not just about providing houses, it's about actually making use of your capital in those real estate to actually advance your business. And Lagos State, for instance, that is actually at the forefront of land reform, unfortunately, the latest statistics is that only 6% of properties in Lagos are titled. So you have 94% of properties in Lagos that are dead, that owners cannot actually take,
to the market.
Yes. So this is something we need to understand. And when we talk of real estate value chain, there are 5 levels in real estate value chain. You have the development, you have the finance, you have the construction, transaction, and then you also have use or management, as the minister spoke about. Each of those levels have key role to play in actually advancing. And when we talk about this value chain, there is hardly any of those levels that you don't have government involved in. So that means, because you talk about professionals, what are we going to do to actually advance our advocacy? I'm sure when you talk about professionals, you're not just talking about professionals in the private sector. You're talking about those also in government. There is absolutely a need for all of us to understand that we have one goal, and that is to actually develop this sector and make it contribute to our economic development. And therefore, our advocacy, like you asked me, is going to be about involvement. Professionals need to be involved more in government policy thinking, because that, like the former minister said, he tries to avoid talking about social housing. But social housing is key, because no matter, if you talk about affordable housing, you build houses, you say it's about paying for it. How many teachers can actually afford a 3-bedroom or a 2-bedroom house in Yaba or even in Ipaja? That is where social housing comes in. In developed countries, in England and in Europe, they are absolutely taken care of. It is about subsidy. Social housing, government has to subsidize it. Without subsidy, there is no social housing. Affordable housing, yes, you can actually plan about it and use interest rate, to actually facilitate access. But social housing is a must. How many civil servants can actually even play in the affordable housing? It is social housing. So, like I said, 2025 looks good, but the point is, if we don't address the fundamental issues, and that's why I recommended that we read that book. That is the Bible of land reform. If you have not read it, go and read it, and then look at what the West did right to actually get the economy, to where they are. And then we will be able to
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Applause. Thank you so much. Mr. Festus Adebayo, you spent many years in this industry interacting, you produce TV shows that go into the real estate, and so I'm sure you are well heard in the industry more than myself. In terms of what to make sustainable home ownership schemes work, and I'm going to go back to the first question for the panel, which was what the government is doing to ensure, whether it is mortgage refinancing or whatever we are doing, and how do we get the industry players to key into such programs for ease of housing, to develop the industry, because the more the real estate sector develops, the more we can create jobs, the more we can help small and medium enterprises, the more we can actually create the kind of jobs that can help people have what we call affordable housing, because you need to pay for it one way or the other. There's no free lunch, not even free housing.
Thank you. sustainable home ownership for Nigerians. I can't see a sign that government is ready. I cannot see that. I cannot see that. Renew Hope Housing in Abuja. The one bedroom is 25 million. I've been informed that the smallest one in Lagos is 46 million. Who are we building for? And the president of Nigerian Institution of Estate Surveyors is calling for social housing intervention by the government.
What would you want us to do different, Mr. Debayo?
So we have to, there are some things we have been doing different, in a very different way. Let me tell you, when the minister was there was establishment of family home fund. I'm sure you are aware. When I went through the budget of 2025, no provision for family home funds. But we have MOFI that came, that is getting 250 billion and already floating 100 billion to them. And the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development, as a ministry, is having 88 billion as its budget for the year. So, and as of today, the MCR is 27.5. Go to any nearest mortgage bank, they give you 30-something% as interest. So who can afford that? Who are you building for? Who are you building for? The MOFI that is getting 100 billion, what benefit can we get from them? As of yesterday, the interest rate they brought out is 12%. So what can the 12% do for us? We cannot just be celebrating over that 100 billion, because we have also had family owned fund that has now been abandoned. I told you this morning that I'll be going from one state to the other looking for the houses that have been abandoned but completed. My honorable minister, who just left here, when he was the minister, we were in Kebbi, we were in Sokoto, and we saw his housing project in Sokoto, in Kebbi. The location was bad, and when the building was completed, the same people went there and removed the roof, and removed the window, and removed everything. And as I'm talking to you today, these are part of the houses we are going to also show to the whole world. That you will say you are building houses. What are you doing with housing? What's your business with housing? Why can't you create an enabling environment?
So you want the private sector?
Yeah, give it for the private sector.
Yes.
So what are you doing? And I had to tell the honorable minister here that just left that, Your Excellency, I need you to go and join Real Estate Developers Association of Nigeria. And he did not answer me. And I said, I'm saying that because your one bedroom that you are selling for this price, the private developer that paid for land, bought the land, paid for infrastructure, pay compensation, is selling at a lower rate. So what do we gain?
So you agree that engagement between the private sector real estate and the government and its agencies should become more robust?
The way forward is this. Number one, we need subsidy. We need subsidy. We need subsidy.
In what areas would you want subsidy in the real estate?
There is in America. Let me tell you this.
No, in Nigeria.
No. Okay, let me go to Africa. In Morocco.
Yes.
You see subsidy there. You said something this morning at the point of your introduction about Morocco.
Yes.
And I was impressed.
Yes.
I've been to Morocco, and I want to tell you there's a social housing organization in Morocco. And the only thing they are doing is to provide houses for the people that are down. Who is providing for our youth? If we care for them, you are giving them student loan. Why can't you also start thinking about youth for housing?
Well,
they will not jackpot. They will not have no reason to jackpot if they know there is hope for them.
That's the one the government also announced.
That's what government is what?
Yeah, there's a student loan. Then there's the one for housing, which is coming.
There's nothing for housing. I can report to you there's nothing for housing. As of today, we are the one clamoring that government should see what they can do for our youth. Our youth with one bedroom, with a studio room, they can start their life there.
I agree with you completely. But when these youths are using a 2.6 million naira iPhone.
Let me report to you back. Let me get back to you. I heard Prince Aromalano when he was saying it. We have some ladies that their hair is a 2-bedroom. The hair, not phone. The hair. You get what I'm saying? So we need to have financial management education.
Yes. So I'm going to pair you with Arumolaro at the end of this panel. And yes, the two of you will form the faculty with Victor. And then you can, I can just see how, that we have the whole hall. Please give them a round of applause, my panelists. Please give them a round of applause. Very quickly, I will need to go. I'll give you just 60 seconds. I need to go to the floor, please.
All right. On the issue of subsidy, again,
in the real estate.
In the real estate, I know what Lagos State is doing. For example, LSDPC, we don't get any subvention from government. We're self-funding. But the government of my governor spends, when we talk about subsidy, we're talking about subsidizing infrastructure. So there's a project we're currently doing, 807 two-bedroom house in Ikorodu. What the government, through His Excellency, is subsidizing is into billions. The external road infrastructure, the internal road infrastructure, the sewage system, the water system, with a view to see how we can take down the cost of that new estate with a proviso that that estate is primarily for civil servants and families who are buying for the first time. It's been an Herculean task. I'm the one heading that team in LSTPC. It's been a major challenge trying to drive it down. Because the honest truth is, in the market, there is nothing called affordable building materials. There is nothing like that. And so, government is subsidizing all the infrastructure. With that infrastructure, that project will go into a minimum of 64 million. And the initial intention from beginning was it not to exceed 70 million. But then the economy took a downturn, and so a lot of things. So, subsidy again, you know, like we're just having a conversation.
Yes.
It's taxpayers' money.
Yes.
It's the taxes that people pay that you use to subsidize. And so you need to also be careful. There's so many things. I want to go back, and I'm saying this very carefully, that we need a financial reorientation.
Prince, I want to say a point to you. There are ways government can attract people into affordable housing. This is an architect from UK. She has seen local council houses, and she has seen the houses for the whole people. And now she's in Nigeria. And you are doing new tax reform. Does your tax reform make any provision for any developer that want to go into affordable housing, that if you go into affordable housing, this is what you enjoy?
All right. I agree.
Is it providing that?
Sorry,
what we need is to attract people with incentives.
See, I'm a strategic real estate person. Take, for example, all the things. So I can source for sand. There are some key items for real estate. And so let's be realistic. I can source for sand locally.
Yes.
But the people that we bring the sand have also reviewed, because the lubricant and the fuel to deliver has gone up. But I can still source for it locally. I can source for cement locally, even though there's been changes in that also. I can source for iron rods locally, even though the war between Russia has had an impact on that. But the finishing, and was it you that said every house needs sanitary wares?
Yes.
The finishing for any housing project must be imported. Is that so? When you look at, hold on.
No, I think we're taking this thing to the extreme. The question is, how do we want the subsidy to
I'm going to banish the word subsidy.
No, it's very important. It's very important.
You can't,
because do I have the
Because
floor
subsidy
to-
is very important.
To abolish the word subsidy.
No, moderator. But subsidy
Can
is
I
very
say
important
something?
because if you talk about social
Because
housing,
it's highly inflammable.
which is no, it's very important because if you don't talk about subsidy, you can't talk of social housing. And social housing is actually very, 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 very important. Majority of those who are actually out of who cannot afford housing, they come under the subsidy
Those who can afford rent or build a house.
No, because let me tell you one thing. There are ways. For instance, we have other jurisdiction in England. I'm happy President Ronaldo worked in England. In England, for instance, developers, there is what we call Section 106 agreement. Now, there, if you are a developer, you have large, say, LSDPC, Wemabod, or whatever, you want to develop. You come face to face with the local authority in planning. Now, how many houses are you providing? Where is the location? You want to provide 1,000 units of housing? Section 106 agreement is there to allow for social housing. A percentage of it is actually reserved for those who cannot afford, the essential workers, nurses, teachers, firemen, and so on.
Police.
And that is a way of subsidizing. The second point is actually you have housing corporations. They are actually enabled to go into development. They enjoy this subsidy, tax, and some others. You see, President Obama spoke about road infrastructure and so on. That is the primary responsibility of government.
Of the government.
That is not subsidizing. That is not infrastructure. Okay, why do we have government? Why do we have government?
Hold on. Can I
Remember
say something?
the
Sorry, can
minister
I
said.
please say something?
The point is in jurisdiction where we have social housing. In England, that is not tagged as subsidy. If you open up an area, you increase the value of real estate. It's the private developers there that take benefit of it. So I think we need to. The problem with us is that government. Look, I give it to Lagos State government. They are trying, but we need to get the fundamentals right. If we don't get the fundamentals right, we'll continue to labor.
All right. Thank you so much, Victor. You go very good. Madam, you're going to have the final word.
Oh, I am. Oh, good.
Yes. For a minute, 60 seconds, please.
Okay, so the gentleman, you said it right about the 106 agreement, but there are other ways, there are many ways in which this can be done. I do like the statement that government should not be in the business of doing business. And some of the ways these subsidies, when people say subsidies, they automatically think something free or free money. No. Okay. But there may be ways. So for example, I mentioned about the toilets that you mentioned. One of the ways in which governments can give subsidy, provide the importation of certain key things to come at a tax, with a tax incentive, tax relief for those who are providing a certain cadre of accommodation. So if you are doing affordable housing, then these certain goods can be imported tax-free. At the moment, I have the privilege of working within a tax-free zone. And some of the things I have seen that are at an advantage for those who work within a tax-free zone, being able to import without these massive importation costs, automatically begins to bring down the cost of accommodation. You mentioned housing associations. There's so many, many ways in which the government can enable those who are developers to make it worth their while to develop social housing. And I agree completely. Social housing is for a certain economic bracket to be able to rent. Government should build it. That's what our taxes should pay for.
Do you think now that the local governments have autonomy and they're getting their money directly from, maybe that should be where local government should also...
Yes, but I will go back to this issue of governance. Again, I have the advantage of being in charge of a governance committee. Governance is something in Nigeria that we don't take seriously. And the problem, the reasons we are not succeeding in so many areas is not because we don't have the rules. It's not because we don't have the laws. It's because we don't... as individuals, as corporations, as businesses, even as government, as banks, we lack the integrity to do that which is right. We know what to do, But what we shouldn't, you asked my forecast for 25. I don't have a forecast for 25. I have an exhortation for 2025. Make this the year that you do what is right, irrespective of who is looking. And then, maybe then, if everybody in every industry, because we're interconnected, we can't separate real estate from housing, from local government, from law. We can't. And even as the Honorable ex-minister will testify, what he wanted to do, how many will let him do it? Or maybe when he got, you get to a point where you get tired. I've reached a point where sometimes I say, well, let me just retire and go and look after my grandchildren. But we can't. The Bible says, do not stop, do not be weary of doing what is right. And we have to do it. Whether you're in local authority, we are all cynical here. The three of us certainly, we're quite cynical. But we can't afford.
The rest of us are sitting very far from you.
I know, that's why we are the cynical ones over here. But we can't afford to separate the industries and point fingers. No.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Please, round of applause for all my members of my panel. Thank you very much. I wanted to take one or two interventions from the floor. My group chairman, could you please get him a microphone? I want to put you on the spot. Any roving microphone, please? Oh, we're not prepared. Sorry, just hold on, sir. We'll get one to you. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Yes, you have the floor, please.
Good afternoon. Like Dr. Fashola rightly said, that government has no business in business. That government should create the enabling environment for business to thrive. But having said that, we have a problem in this country. We are good at criticizing government. And I always tell people, a country deserves the president, whoever leader they voted for. So if we want to get the things right in this country, then we must start asking the people we put in government, we must allow them to be accountable for whatever they are doing. So if you want to say government has no business in business, the caliber of people in this room today, we can take a decision in this country. We can help government, we can help ourselves, and we can start putting pressure on how things could be done. Like Dr. Fashola said, the issue of mass housing, no, nothing is free. Even all over the world, nothing is free. But we can now start ensuring that we create those areas where we can put proper housing and real estate system in place. Like someone said, to have a real estate business is easy, but maintenance and sustainability is very important in this country.
Yes.
I tell people, when I visit your home and I want you to entertain me, the first place I go to is your guest toilet.
Yes.
When you go to so many homes, they don't realize that the ambassador is their guest toilet. Because when you get to a guest toilet in a home and you see cockroaches, you see all sorts of things, that means whoever is maintaining that house does not have good maintenance culture. So it's very important that the ambassador in your house is your guest toilet. Forget about your sitting room because that's where people go to. But your guest toilet, most times people don't attach importance to it. Going forward, you should attach importance to your guest toilet in your home. It's very important because if I want to eat in your house or drink in your house, that's the first place I go to see how you maintain. So what I'm talking about is sustainability and maintenance culture. We must imbibe that in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Otumba. Thank you so much for, please, could you please collect it from our group chairman. Thank you so much. And please, on that note, please give my panelists a very big round of applause. We're about an hour behind schedule, and that is my pay getting cut because the mandate I have, okay, sorry. The brief I had was that we should keep this to 12 o'clock. Now it's 1 o'clock. So I'm getting charged additional interest rate if I stay in this hall. So let's give ourselves a round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. For all those who registered to be here, Wemabod has our contacts, and if there are questions, Wemabod has a desk to handle all of that. And I hope that most of the requests that we'll have was how to turn our 2.6 million iPhones into initial deposit. The managing director is here, and his team of Wemabod Limited. LSDPC is also here so that we can turn our iPhones and other things into initial investment into housing fund. Do I have a yes from you, Mr. Managing Director? Yes. Please give me a round of, my round of applause. Is that, yes, have it. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for my panelists. Please give them a round of the final group photograph for them. Thank you very much. Now we're going to the final lap of the program. We're going to do a bit of presentations, and then yes, just a group photograph, yes. About a minute or so from our platinum sponsors to make a presentation of about 2 minutes each. Please let me invite the representative of the Lagos State or the LSPC, Prince Sadini Arumolaron, Executive Director, Enterprises Limited, is Executive Director of the LSDPC, to have the floor. Oh, you're here. Okay, on behalf of LSDPC, our platinum sponsors, you have 1 minute.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. So, I'm here on behalf of LSDPC. I'm representing my Managing Director, CEO, Honorable Ayodeji Joseph, MHR. I did say something that is significant. Interestingly, even before the Honorable Minister, ex-minister and former governor of Lagos said that, I did put down that if you consider history, you will realize that real estate has always been a catalyst to accelerate economic growth. Especially if you look at the Southwest, real estate has always been a vehicle of economic growth. And we're here today collaborating with Wemabod. It is a humbling reality that Wemabod comes on board with 60 years of experience. LSDPC comes up with 50 years of experience. It is going to be a strong collaboration, and we encourage to offer that collaboration, the expertise, the experience, the skills, the competence that we both combine together to other states of our nation and to the real estate sector stakeholders. We're available, we're present, we're open to give support, to give counsel, professional advice, and whatever we can do. LSTPC brings that on the table, and with our partnership with Wemabod, we know we're good to go. Again, congratulations to Wemabod, and congratulations to the collaboration and the partnership that is about to unfold. Thank you very much. Enjoy your afternoon, and good evening.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that, Prince. Now, let's listen to the representative of Aerofield Homes Limited, Mr. Babatunde Shonaike, the head of operations at Aerofield Homes Limited, one of our platinum sponsors. You have 2 minutes. Please, let's keep the hall quiet as we had maintained since the start. Please, could you please come to the podium quickly, sir, so that we can have these 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I want to use this medium to congratulate everybody here today for a wonderful park we are having. Also, I also want to use the medium to introduce everyone to Aerofield Homes Limited, a big collaborator with Odua Investment as well as Wemabod in Ikeja GRA. Behind me, I see we are showing a video of what is going on, the good work that is going on in Ikeja GRA. That there shows 54 units of luxury apartments in Ikeja GRA and good for investment, as well as first-time house owners. So, Aerofield Homes Limited is open to investors, open to collaborators, open to every element you want to bring in as much as we are talking about reducing the housing deficit here in Nigeria. We are known for our integrity in GRA, Ikeja, and Ikoyi. Those are the 2 core business centers we have. And we do nothing but bringing smile to every one of our collaborators. And I'm sure that is why we are here today. And God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that on behalf of your organization for the sponsorship, a platinum sponsor. Thank you very much. Now for the closing remarks, please, ladies and gentlemen, I have the privilege of inviting Engineer Kinton, who is the head of technical, to please come to the podium for the closing remarks and appreciation of all our sponsors and our special guests. Mr. Akinton, please. Please, you have the podium.
Good afternoon, ladies and distinguished ladies and gentlemen. We want to thank everyone, the distinguished men of timber and caliber, if I may use the words of one of our First Republic politicians, who have gathered together here. They spared the time and the efforts to be here. We've had a very, very fruitful session, and unlike the English maxim that says that too many cooks, they spoil the broth, we've had a pot of broth that has been cooked, not by too many cooks, but by so many cooks. And these so many cooks, they improved the quality and the output of the broth. So I want to appreciate the so many cooks who gathered there today to prepare this pot. We want to appreciate in particular some of our sponsors who collaborated with Wemabod to make this possible. We have firms like organizations like the Lagos State Government, along with their departments and agencies, LSDPC, Ministry of Housing, Aerofield Homes, who presented here, Tower Alloys, want to thank you. Mountain Investment and Securities, we have them like Wema Bank, Crystal Laurel, El Salem Limited, we want to thank you. We also have IFMA, the International Facilities Management Association. We have companies like Focal Point Projects who want to appreciate your efforts in bringing this to pass. We have Glorious 7 Tax and Management Consultants, Billing Cost Associates, Cable Metal, Amafac. Also, we have some of our customers in Wemabod like OM, Toku and Associates. We have KOA Consultants, Imefin, Arrowhead, and we have Mountain Investments and Securities Limited. We want to thank every one of you. We also have companies like Lagos Airport Hotel and a subsidiary of Wemabod, Westlink Facilities Management. They've all contributed to this. We want to thank our panelists, people like Architect Badebo, ESV Alonge, who took time out as the president of Naives to be here. We want to thank Barrister Olomola Shijuwade and Mr. Adebayo, and also His Excellency Mr. Raji Fashola. And we appreciate what the efforts, the pains that the organizing committee, the planning committee went through. We want to thank the board of Wemabod for allowing this to be. And I want to say that this event has served as a reunion for Wemabod, both staff, present and past members of staff, and also for many of our customers and business associates. So we pray that God will bless and reward every one of you, and we look forward to seeing the impact, the fruits of this event. We want to see it being manifested. We look forward to seeing you next year. We want to appreciate in particular our online audience. We have over thousands of people who have joined us online. We want to thank you. And for the men of timber and caliber that have all made it here, we want to say thank you very much. For those that don't understand too much of English like me, I will say Eshegon, Wekobiro, no, Dalu, Mugode. And for those from the French-speaking areas, I will say merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Merci beaucoup. Asante sana. Asante di sana. Please, just a very quick one before we take the national anthem. If you have misplaced an ATM card of a bank, please, if you have misplaced an ATM, a debit card, please let the organizers know. If you have misplaced an ATM card of a bank, an ATM card, if you have misplaced an ATM card, please let us know. If you have misplaced an ATM card with a proof of ID, if you have misplaced an ATM card, please, we have it. Ladies and gentlemen, please, to bring this event to a formal close, may we all rise, please, for the anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Please, may we all rise. Ladies and gentlemen, Please, may we all rise for the anthem of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. Though tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigerians old and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be a symbol that truth and justice reign. In peace or battle honored, and this we count as gain. To hang on to our children a banner without stain. O God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria may be blessed.
Thank you very much, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Wemabod Limited, a company of the Odua Investment Limited, I have the privilege of thanking you all for being here. For our online participants, thank you very much. And this event, the Wemabod Real Estate Outlook 2025, has been formally brought to a close. See you again for this event next year, 2026. Thank you very much for coming, everyone.